Chapter 1220. Upon hearing this ancient voice, the remaining two quasi-emperors of the secluded country were pleasantly surprised. It's the Soul Overlord. The Soul Overlord has awakened. To be able to make two sub-emperors so surprised and respectful, they even called him Lord. It was obvious that this Soul Overlord was not an ordinary person. That dark figure appeared soundlessly like a shadow. Surprisingly, he did not have a majestic aura that could shake the ages, nor did he have the majestic emperor's might that could swallow the stars. However, such a person stood there coldly, as if the place he stood was the underworld, the Yellow Springs. It was a black-robed old man with a hunched back. He held the ancient bronze lamp in his hand. Millions of faces appeared in the flame of the lamp. They were all living beings that had died on the battlefield. Most of them were from secluded nation, but there were also a few cultivators from the Alliance army. However, this old man's face was cold and sinister. He opened his mouth and swallowed the millions of souls in the soul-guiding lamp. Suddenly, a majestic soul power surged. The old man's hunched back seemed to straighten a little. This action undoubtedly caused many experts from the Alliance army to break out in a cold sweat. Swallowing millions of souls in one gulp? Was this something an ordinary person could do? Moreover, it was too eerie and sinister. An emperor, this is a true emperor. Countless gazes were fixed on this old man. Although he was not like Jun Shinyu, who could swallow the stars and illuminate the universe with his emperor's might. He even seemed a little lethargic, like the sun setting in the west. However, he was, without a doubt, an emperor. Lord Soul Overlord. The two sub-emperors of secluded nation had blood flowing from the corners of their mouths. They were both injured. These are the souls of the origin spirits accumulated over the years. One of the sub-emperors took out a square crystal. Inside it, there were densely packed phantoms of living beings. Not only the human race, but all living beings in the immortal realm seemed to be in it. The number was simply uncountable. It was at least in the billions. Those are the targets that secluded nation has killed in these epochs. The ancient ancestor of the Jun family's hidden branch was shocked. Just how many living beings had he killed to accumulate so many Yuanshin souls? Soul Overlord. He's related to the underworld. Jiang Heng's face was also extremely solemn. He had inherited part of the heavenly secret divine arts and could vaguely sense some traces. Even though he was a ninth tribulation quasi-emperor, he appeared rather insignificant in front of this Soul Overlord. Now, many people rejoiced that the divine universe emperor was here. Otherwise, things would be really bad this time. Who knew that there was such a mysterious expert in the secluded country? Jiang family, Jun family, are you trying to destroy my secluded state? Soul Overlord Injio's gaze swept across the Alliance army. Of course, his main focus was still on the divine universe Emperor Lord. Soul Overlord, your origin is not simple. The divine universe Emperor stood above the Milky Way. Even though the Soul Overlord had appeared, his expression was still indifferent. This was the invincible belief that all the powerhouses of the Jun family had. The Soul Overlord's old face was somewhat cold. To be honest, even he was a little confused. He was sleeping peacefully, waiting for the best opportunity in this golden era. But now, he was startled awake. As for the reason, a quasi-emperor transmitted it through his divine consciousness. The Soul Overlord knew everything. Stupid. The Soul Overlord's heart was incomparably cold. This plan was completely stupid. The secluded state was completely being used. When he was sleeping, the secluded state was jointly ruled by 5 quasi-emperors. They all thought that after assassinating Jun Xiaoyao, they could transfer the entire ancient secluded world to the 9 heavens. Moreover, Di Haoyin, the 9 heavens taboo families, and the Gray clan all agreed to give the secluded state many benefits. Di Haoyin had even agreed to it. As long as they could kill Jun Xiaoyao, they could also tell the secluded state the location of the great emperor's remnant soul. That was the remnant soul of a great emperor. Even a wisp of it was stronger than the primordial spirits of hundreds of millions of people. If they could offer the great emperor's remnant soul to the Soul Overlord, then the Soul Overlord would probably be able to recover to his peak as soon as possible. But who would have thought that it would end up like this? But now, it was useless to regret. At this point in the war, it was impossible to make peace. In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless. The Soul Overlord swallowed the crystal that sealed hundreds of millions of souls in one gulp. In an instant, a vast aura erupted, releasing hundreds of millions of rays of dark light, as if to pull the entire world into the netherworld. He held the soul guiding lamp in his hand and shouted coldly, "Battle in outer space." The Divine Universe Emperor's eyes were cold as he raised his hand and grabbed. An immortal axe broke through the air, splitting the void. Dazzling immortal light bloomed, and a wisp of axe light could cut off a galaxy. It was the June family's quasi-immortal artifact, the Calamity Immortal Axe. The Divine Universe Emperor held the Calamity Immortal Axe and fought the Soul Overlord, who held the soul guiding lamp deep in the universe. It was as if there were hundreds of millions of thunderclaps. Endless great Tao and divine laws collided, releasing shockwaves that shook the universe and then annihilated each other. The shockwaves of the battle were terrifying to the extreme. The sun and moon shook, and a galaxy was destroyed. With each move, he easily destroyed many star regions. Fortunately, they were fighting in outer space. Otherwise, the entire underworld mystic realm would be affected. This was a battle between great emperors. Let's finish this mess as well, Jiang Heng said with a cold expression. If it wasn't for Xiaoyao's luck, Xiaoyao's soul might have been in that crystal today. We must eliminate the secluded country. Jiang Daoxiu hated the Jin dynasty to the bone. Since the Soul Overlord has awakened, the secluded country will not be destroyed. That's right, you don't know how strong the Soul Overlord is. The remaining two sub-emperors of the secluded country were bitterly holding on as they shouted at the same time. Then you probably don't know how strong Ancestor Shin Universe is. He's a true giant among great emperors. Jun Suihua and the other ancient ancestors of the Jun family's hidden branch sneered. How many forces in the entire mystic realm were qualified to look down on the Jun family? The battle continued. The entire underworld mystic realm seemed to be dyed red by blood and was covered in a layer of bloody mist. There were simply too many living beings that had died. The secluded country was at an absolute disadvantage. The remaining two sub-emperors could only lead a group of defeated soldiers and rely on some ancient killing arrays to defend the core of the secluded country's ancient world. The ancient warships of the Allied forces kept shooting out terrifying rays of loss. The secluded country's destruction was only a matter of time. The two sub-emperors of the secluded country still had hope. If the Soul Overlord won, then the secluded country still had hope. However, at a certain moment, in the depths of the distant universe, an old, angry roar could be heard. Blood dyed the river of stars red. Damn it, I shouldn't have woken up at this time. The one who spoke was the Soul Overlord. He was already very old and had been sleeping this entire time. He even needed to wake up every epoch to devour countless souls in order to maintain his strength as a great emperor. The Soul Overlord was waiting for the opportunity to become an immortal. However, who would have thought that all hope would be destroyed now? Do you know my true identity? I come from... Jun Shinyu spoke coldly before the Soul Overlord could finish speaking. I don't care who you are. If you provoke the Jun family, even an emperor will fall. The axe chopped down, and billions of stars were destroyed. No, I'm unwilling. I want to wait for the material to become an immortal for the hope of ascending. The Soul Overlord roared. Then, with a loud explosion, billions of great Daos exploded, and the void was blasted into nothingness. Strange phenomena appeared between heaven and earth. A rain of blood fell, and the great Daos returned to heaven and earth. These were the signs of an emperor falling, and their lives were in the hands of the heavens. At this moment, the entire nine skies shook. Countless major forces that were paying attention to this battle of the immortals trembled. A true emperor had fallen. Chapter 12:21. How long had it been since they last saw something like this? Blood was floating in the sky, and the great Tao was returning to the heavens. Sorrowful music seemed to be echoing in the sky. It was the sorrowful melody of those who had reached the pinnacle of life after they died. It represented the end of their Tao attainment. There was nothing left. Everything was gone after they died. Only the endless brilliance of the great Tao was dissipating. It was the remaining power of the martial monarchs returning to the world after they died. To a certain extent, attaining the Tao and becoming a martial monarch was also a kind of plunder. Now that the martial monarchs were dead, the plunder should return to the world. How long has it been? Another martial monarch has fallen. The entire nine heavens immortal realm was shaken. Some experts and old antiques exclaimed. Even in the war between the two worlds, no martial monarchs had fallen. Jun Xiaoyao and the others had stopped the ultimate calamity, so a real war did not break out. Now, a real martial monarch had fallen in the immortal war that crossed the immortal realms. It was no doubt a huge event that shook the entire nine heavens immortal realm. Even a martial monarch would fall before the Jun family's army. No one could stop the Jun family's fury. Deep in the boundless universe, the rift was destroyed. The divine universe martial monarch stood in it. His body was glowing as he recovered. The curse of calamity is indeed a little troublesome. The divine universe martial monarch frowned slightly. The curse of calamity had indeed affected his performance in the battle just now. Fortunately, soul overlords were the kind of emperors who weren't in a good state. If it was someone else of the same level, the divine universe martial monarch would be in trouble. Then, the divine universe martial monarch fixed his gaze on the ancient bronze lamp. After the soul overlord died, only the soul guiding lamp was still emitting a faint light. Even the divine universe martial monarch could not break a pseudo-immortal weapon. The 10 pseudo-immortal weapons of the underworld can be combined into a supreme immortal weapon, the 10 kings of hell. The soul guiding lamp is one of them. The soul overlord must be a powerful expert of one of the 10 halls of the underworld, the divine universe martial monarch thought, just as he raised his hand and was about to capture the soul guiding lamp. Suddenly, the void shattered, and a dark giant hand grabbed at the soul guiding lamp. You want to take advantage of me behind my back? The divine universe emperor snorted coldly, like a clap of thunder. He hacked out with the axe. Immortal radiance erupted endlessly, clashing with that large hand of darkness. At the same time, another large hand tore through the sky from another direction and grabbed the soul guiding lamp. This item originally belonged to the underworld. A cold voice sounded. 2 emperors, the divine universe emperor, remained silent. Of course, these 2 great emperors did not show themselves. They merely attacked from a distance. They didn't want to avenge the soul overlord. They just wanted to take away the soul guiding lamp. After all, hell was just like Xianting. The various factions within hell were intricate and complex. Even if the soul overlord was once a member of the underworld, there was no need for them to risk their lives against the divine universe emperor for a dead soul overlord. Secluded countries' actions have nothing to do with the underworld. The owner of the Dark Hand sent a voice transmission. That would be for the best. Otherwise, the divine universe emperor paused. The underworld cannot withstand the wrath of the Jun family. A hoarse and cold laugh sounded. The 2 dark hands disappeared after grabbing the soul guiding lamp. The divine universe emperor stood silently. If he really wanted to, he could have left the soul guiding lamp behind. But he didn't. It wasn't that he was afraid of the underworld. It was just that now was not the time to cause any more trouble. Compared to the Jin dynasty, the underworld was even more mysterious and shameless. They dug up graves, conducted all sorts of bloody experiments, recreated the cycle of reincarnation, and so on. Compared to the underworld, the Jin dynasty's ruthlessness was not even worth mentioning. The underworld is also gradually rising to the surface. Troubled times. The divine universe emperor sighed. He felt that this immortal realm crossing immortal realm battle could not even be considered storm. It was just a small wave before the storm. How is this possible? The soul overlord has fallen? Underworld immortal realm. ancient secluded world. The remaining two great emperors' minds were blank. They were about to collapse. The strongest person in their hearts, the sole overlord, the foundation of secluded country, had fallen. No, this is impossible. The two great emperors could not believe it. But the bloody reality was right in front of them. Now, the entire ancient secluded world was like a bloody kingdom of death. Blood flowed, and corpses were everywhere. Destruction was only a matter of time. The two great emperors' hearts were pounding. To be honest, the stronger a cultivator was, the more they cherished their lives. Because they were not willing to die like this. They still wanted to reach higher heights. The two great emperors looked at each other and seemed to see the determination in each other's eyes. Even the sole overlord had died. It was useless to continue resisting. We are willing to surrender and serve the Jun family to atone for our crimes. One of the great emperors said. Many people from the Alliance army were surprised. Those were great emperors. Even if they were not at the peak of cultivation, they were at least above billions of people. But now, they were begging for mercy and were willing to surrender. It seems that even great emperors are afraid of death. Many cultivators had cold smiles on their faces. In terms of being afraid of death, these great emperors were no different from normal cultivators. Of course, not all great emperors were as cowardly as these two great emperors. An ancient ancestor of the Jun family's hidden branch said coldly, "Surrender? Ha! Does the Jun family need two great emperors?" Jiang Daoshu also said coldly, "The crime of injuring my grandson is unforgivable. As I said, the three great assassins of the Jin dynasty will not be spared." Jiang Heng only spat out one word. "Kill you." The two great emperors were shocked and furious. The Jun family did not even care about the two great emperors. There was not much suspense after this. Although the two great emperors of the secluded country tried their best to resist. But in the end, they were surrounded by a group of great emperors and died. The remaining experts of the secluded country were also wiped out. Not a single one of them was spared. The entire secluded country was destroyed. Not a single person survived. This would definitely be recorded in the history books. The Jin dynasty, a powerful assassin organization, was destroyed just like that. The Jin dynasty was wiped out. The secluded country will no longer exist. Is this the consequence of angering the Jun family? Are they really going all out and leaving no one alive? Why do I feel like the Jun family is trying to establish their dominance? The various factions in the Nine Heavens immortal realm were watching the situation. To ordinary forces, the Killer Divine Dynasty was like a venomous snake or scorpion. However, the Jun family and the Jiang family were able to easily destroy them. This was the strength of the three great emperors. Of course, the secluded country was the only exception. The Heavenly Hall and the Blood Pagoda also attracted a lot of attention. The army of the Emperor Dynasty was advancing toward the realm of chaos. They were full of fighting spirit and killing intent. On the main warship of the Emperor Dynasty's higher-ups, Wu Hu, the leader of the clans in the immortal ancient world, Li Xian, and the others. An old blind man, Feng Xionyang, and the others from the Bronze Immortal Palace. Queen Medusa and the others from the Naga race were also present. The Xia sisters and the others from the business alliance of 10,000 clans were also present. They were the first batch of higher-ups of the Emperor Dynasty. The beautiful goddess of the other world, Mengnu was also among them. She suddenly smiled and said, "Actually, I think we might have come in vain." "Oh, what do you mean?" The higher-ups of the Emperor Dynasty looked at Mengnu in confusion. Mengnu did not say anything. She only smiled mysteriously. Young Master Jun is injured. Our Supreme is not happy. Chapter 12:22. The realm of chaos was not part of the Nine Heavens, immortal realm. As the name implied, this was an incomparably chaotic and lawless zone. All kinds of killers, assassins, robbers, people who had blood on their hands, and people who were being hunted were gathered here. It was a vast area where crooks mixed in with honest folk. Trying to find someone here was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, before the expedition, Jiang Heng had used a heavenly secret divine art, to calculate that the Blood Pagoda was located in the realm of chaos. At this moment, deep in the realm of chaos, a huge fortress the size of a continent was moving. The fortress was extremely ancient and emitted a desolate aura. The walls were stained with blood. This was the Blood Pagoda's base, a floating fortress. Its name was Blood Pagoda. Normally, the Blood Pagoda fortress would raise a concealment formation to hide the entire fortress. However, the surface of the Blood Pagoda fortress was glowing with hundreds of millions of formation runes. It was a teleportation formation. The Blood Pagoda fortress was about to leave this place. However, it was different from the ancient worship. The Blood Pagoda fortress was too huge. It couldn't teleport a long distance. It could only move a short distance. "We can't wait to die here." The voice of a supreme expert came from the Blood Pagoda fortress. "I heard that the Emperor's court is attacking us this time. The strength of this army should be weaker than the other two. So what? As long as the Jiang family's heavenly secret divine art is here, we'll be found no matter where we hide. We've completely miscalculated this time. We shouldn't have accepted this mission. It was supposed to be a surefire mission, but who knew that Jun Xiaoyao would be so tough? 3 boundary emperors tried to assassinate him, but failed. The boundary emperors of the Blood Pagoda were obviously regretting their decision. They still hadn't received news of the secluded country's destruction. Otherwise, they would be in even more despair. At this moment, countless assassins were on high alert on the walls of the Blood Pagoda's fortress. They could vaguely guess what their fate would be in the future. Suddenly, a Blood Pagoda assassin looked up. He saw a slender scarlet flower petal fluttering down from the void. The assassin held the petal in his hand and was a little confused. Why would there be a petal floating in the depths of the starry sky? However, it wasn't just one petal. 2 pieces, 4 pieces, 6 pieces. More and more flower petals drifted down from the deep starry sky. In the end, it was as if there was a rain of flowers, vast and mighty. Countless flower petals drifted down, beautiful and strange. But obviously, this was not normal. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 figures appeared above the Blood Pagoda fortress. They were the 2 quasi-emperors of the Blood Buddha. The Blood Pagoda's strength and resources were at the bottom of the Jin dynasty's 3 great assassins. They were weaker than the secluded kingdom in heaven. Including the fallen quasi-emperor, there were only 3 of them. Of course, they also had a leader, the king of assassins. However, he was not in the Blood Pagoda fortress. Instead, he was cultivating in seclusion in an ancient forbidden land. What happened? Is it the army of the monarch imperial court? The 2 quasi-emperors exchanged a glance and saw the grave look in each other's eyes. They sensed an incomparably dangerous aura. This caused their scalps to tingle slightly, and a bone-chilling coldness spread throughout their bodies. That's not right. One of the quasi-emperors suddenly raised his head and gazed into the depths of the firmament star domain. Unknowingly, a blurry figure stood hundreds of millions of feet above the starry sky. The boundless Milky Way was like a small stream, encircling her exposed snow-white feet. The figure was shrouded in a blurry aura. Not to mention a quasi-emperor, even a true emperor might not be able to figure out the details of this figure. However, the vague curves of the figure were still exposed. This figure was a woman with peerless beauty who could overturn the 9 heavens. Flower petals drifted down like rain. Those were the flowers of the other shore. They were flowers that bloomed on the other side of the yellow springs, beautiful and strange. With the sky full of petals as the background, the woman was simply beautiful to the extreme. Even many of the cold-hearted assassins in the Blood Pagoda were stunned at this moment. There was even a dazed look in their eyes. That woman was too perfect. However, there was a flaw in the perfection. They could not see her face. Her delicate body was blurry, and the only part of her face that could be vaguely seen was a somewhat clumsy ghost mask. "You are not from the monarch imperial court." One of the quasi-emperors of the Blood Pagoda probed. However, that incomparably mysterious and terrifying aura made him feel like he was about to be crushed. In the face of the Blood Pagoda expert's questioning, The peerless woman, standing above the 9 heavens, did not say a word. It was as if no one would communicate with an ant at their feet. That's right. In her eyes, these 2 quasi-emperors were just ants at her feet. After seeing the ghost mask, the other quasi-emperor seemed to have thought of something, and his pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle's eye. A chill of absolute zero invaded every corner of his quasi-emperor body. Shishis, what's wrong? The other quasi-emperor was a little confused. During the war between the 2 worlds, she appeared and fought with the ultimate disaster. The quasi-emperor's words caused the air to become deathly silent. The other quasi-emperor suddenly understood, and it was replaced by deep despair. There is no need to say who this peerless woman was. She was the supreme ruler of the Primordial clan, the mother of the Primordial flowers. Who would have thought that this interdomain battle would attract her to take action? It could be said that after reaching this level of existence, apart from ascending and becoming an immortal, there was nothing else that could move them. However, the mother of the Primordial flowers had appeared because of Jun Xiaoyao. At this moment, the sky was filled with Primordial flowers. This was originally an incomparably beautiful scene. However, all the people of the Blood Pagoda only felt a bone-deep chill. Wait, we are willing to surrender. In the face of such an existence, the 2 quasi-emperors of the Blood Pagoda were even doubtful. Even if the Lord of the Blood Pagoda, the King of Assassins, returned, he would probably not be of much use. Therefore, they were very direct and wanted to surrender. However, the mother of the Primordial flowers still did not say a word. She finally moved, slowly stretching out a lotus arm. The delicate, jade-like hand pressed down with the palm. It was clearly a small and slender jade-like hand, but after the palm pressed down, the endless galaxy boiled. All kinds of great Tao divine patterns and chains of order collapsed and were destroyed. The spatial order instantly collapsed, and hundreds of millions of great stars were instantly annihilated into dust. Under this palm, all matter seemed to have been shattered into the most primitive state of molecules. This was an absolute suppression. The universe shook and the heavens resonated. In this vast, chaotic star field, monstrous waves of laws were set off. The waves swept across the entire star field, and countless creatures in the chaotic star field were affected. It was like the end of the world. Many creatures with weaker cultivation were directly shocked to death from hundreds of millions of miles away. It was like a giant. With a stomp, it would always hurt the innocent. This was also why most emperor-level and above experts would go to the depths of the starry sky to fight. It was to avoid affecting other innocent people. But the mother of the Primordial flowers did not care. Or rather, to her, apart from continuing to cultivate and become stronger, Jun Xiaoyao was the only one she cared about a little bit. That was all. After the palm, the Blood Pagoda fortress no longer existed. Not even the fragments of the ruins remained. Only dust was flying in the sky. Under this palm, the 2 Blood Pagoda quasi-emperors were no different from the other Blood Pagoda assassins. They were all annihilated like ants. The palm of the mother of the red spider lilies wiped out one of the 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty, the Blood Pagoda. However, the expression of the mother of the red spider lilies under the ghost mask was still cold and elegant, without the slightest fluctuation. Would you feel a sense of accomplishment if you stepped on an ant to death? However, the mother of the red spider lilies suddenly had an inexplicable feeling in her heart. It was as if there was also a peerless woman in the incomparably distant past. 1 palm to destroy the supreme, celestial dynasty. 1 palm to destroy the eternal forbidden zone. Is it her shadow again? The mother of the red spider lilies muttered to herself. She wanted to get rid of the ghost-faced empress, but she could not. The mother of the red spider lilies' figure faded into the void and disappeared. Soundlessly. An assassin of the Jin dynasty, under her palm, completely became the dust of history. Leisurely literature, let the soul travel. Chapter 1223. The palm of the red spider lily's mother had undoubtedly set off monstrous waves in the entire chaotic star field. Countless creatures were affected. Those who were lucky only suffered some injuries. The Those who were unlucky were directly killed. Hundreds of millions of living beings were trembling. What's going on? Is the end of the chaotic star field? Could it be the army of the imperial court? But they haven't started the war yet. In the chaotic star field, countless creatures were discussing. The tremors just now were as if the gods were destroying the world. The army of the imperial court was protected by the war arc, so naturally, they weren't affected. What's going on? That aura. Even someone as calm as Wu who was shocked. What kind of power was that? With just one move, the entire chaotic star field was affected and countless people were killed or injured. That direction is the direction of the Blood Pagoda, someone shouted. Full speed ahead and investigate the situation. Wu Hu ordered. Meng Nu, who had been following the army, revealed a look of understanding. Has he already made his move? To be able to make the unparalleled of my race take action so many times, young Master Jun, your charm is truly unstoppable. Meng Nu thought to herself. In the previous War of Calamity, the Red Spider Lily's mother had also appeared and protected Jun Xiaoyao. It was the same this time. She naturally didn't know about the bond between the Red Spider Lily's mother and Jun Xiaoyao. Just as the army of the imperial court was heading towards the Blood Pagoda. In another ancient land, this was a world of blood and evil, an ancient battlefield of slaughter. It was filled with endless danger. In the deepest part of this blood-fiend ancient land, in a sea of blood, a figure suddenly woke up and let out a cold shout. Who is it? This voice was vast and mighty, shaking the world. The entire sea of blood exploded, and the blood waves surged into the sky. Some of the explorers on the periphery were incomparably terrified. Oh my God, did some great evil awaken in the depths of the blood-fiend ancient land? Retreat, we can't stay here any longer. Many cultivators hurriedly retreated. In the sea of blood, a figure with long blood-red hair appeared, a pair of cold eyes, and the scene of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood appeared. Countless blood-fiend demonic rings appeared around him. This was because he had killed too many living beings and condensed them into this form. Each blood-fiend demonic ring represented the slaughter of billions of lives. And beside this figure, there were over 10,000 blood-fiend demonic rings. How many living beings must have been killed to condense this? This figure was none other than the Lord of the Blood Pagoda, the King of Assassins. Who is it? Who dares to destroy my Blood Buddha? The King of Assassins shouted angrily. He was an emperor of the Tao of killing, and he had proven his Tao through killing. Even great emperors of the same level would be wary of him. This was also why the Blood Pagoda had been able to survive for so long, and why it was on par with the other two great killers of the Jin dynasty. The Blood Pagoda itself wasn't very strong. However, as the King of Assassins, he was so powerful that even great emperors were wary of him. That was why no one dared to provoke the Blood Stupa for fear of the King of Assassins' revenge. But just now, the King of Assassins, who was accumulating power in the Blood Sea, sensed it. The Blood Pagoda was destroyed. This made him extremely furious. Who dare to go against the Blood Pagoda? Let me see who destroyed the Blood Pagoda. Even if it's a great emperor, I will make him pay the price in blood. Just as the King of Assassins was about to look for the murderer, suddenly, red spider lilies fluttered and fell. The King of Assassins' body tensed up. This was his instinctive reaction when encountering danger. How can this be? The King of Assassins himself was puzzled. He was the great emperor of the Tao of killing. At this level, it could be said that there were almost no people in the immortal realm who could threaten him. Some great emperors were even wary of him. But now he actually felt a sense of crisis that he hadn't felt in a long time. He had experienced this sense of crisis before. That was when he had just entered the cultivation world. Because of some grudges, his entire family was wiped out. He hid in a cesspool, trembling. In the end, he waited for his enemy to leave before he dared to climb out. Who would have thought that the great emperor of the Tao of killing, the supreme powerhouse of the Blood Pagoda of the Jin dynasty, once had the experience of hiding in a cesspool? It was also from then on that the King of Assassins' temperament became cold and twisted. In the end, He used killing to prove his Tao. This tragic memory that he didn't want to recall made the killing intent in the King of Assassins' eyes even more intense. It was because of that experience that he was exposed later on. Some people even joked in private and called him the Emperor of the Cesspool. Of course, those who mocked him on the surface were all killed by the King of Assassins, and their entire families were wiped out. Who is deliberately mystifying in front of me? The King of Assassins' murderous aura filled the sky. Tens of thousands of blood-fiend, demonic rings bloomed with brilliant blood-red light. At this moment, in the void of the blood-fiend ancient land, a peerlessly beautiful silhouette against the backdrop of the rain of flowers quietly appeared. It was a clumsy ghost mask that was incomparably mysterious. Under the mask, there was a pair of cold eyes. Her hair was casually draped over her shoulders, and each strand was sparkling and translucent. Her body was wrapped in a black dress that was incomparably beautiful. Her slender and beautiful jade legs were crossed. Her feet that were not wearing shoes and socks tapped on the void. Countless divine runes of the great Tao appeared under her feet. There is no doubt that this was a peerlessly cold and beautiful woman. But at this moment, the King of Assassins was not in the mood to appreciate this beauty, because he felt a kind of danger. Extreme danger. He had not experienced this kind of feeling since he had proven his Tao and become an emperor. And now, he was experiencing it again. The kind of fear and trembling that came from the depths of his soul. That kind of feeling was as if he had returned to the time when his entire family was wiped out. In order to survive, he hid in a cesspool to live. This kind of feeling made the King of Assassins feel a kind of monstrous humiliation and anger at the same time as fear. Were you the one who wiped out the Blood Pagoda? The King of Assassins guessed, but he still did not dare to believe it. How could the Blood Pagoda provoke such a terrifying existence? Even a quasi-emperor did not have the qualifications to assassinate such a person. He had been cultivating in seclusion, so he did not notice anything in the outside world. Naturally, he did not know what had happened. The mother of the hurricane lilies was as cold as frost. In the face of a true emperor-level figure, she looked at him in the eye. As an emperor, you still have some value. After saying that, the mother of the hurricane lilies stretched out a small and slender jade-like hand and pressed down on the King of Assassins. Endless brilliance of the great Tao bloomed, surrounded by divine runes, as if heaven and earth were resonating and shaking. The entire blood-fiend ancient land suddenly shook. The sea of blood overturned, and the ground cracked. This palm was enough to destroy the entire blood-fiend ancient land. This power is the supreme power of an emperor. The King of Assassins was incomparably shocked. Even with his great emperor state of mind, at this moment, monstrous waves were stirred up. Since when could such a supreme expert so easily appear in the immortal domain? One should know that even emperors like them could not wreak havoc in the immortal domain under normal circumstances. This was the rule of the immemorial treaty. However, the King of Assassins did not have time to think. That white hand was like the ancient vault of heaven collapsing and pressing down on him. Even though he was the King of Assassins, he coughed up large mouthfuls of blood and was knocked back. His body cracked, and even his emperor body was shaking. It was not that a great emperor was not strong, but the mother of the hurricane lily's strength had far surpassed ordinary great emperors, reaching the supreme realm of emperors. Otherwise, she would not have been qualified to fight with the ultimate calamity before. The mother of the hurricane lilies used the supreme law to imprison the King of Assassins. The great lord of the Blood Pagoda was suppressed by a single hand. Chapter 1224. The blood-fiend ancient land had long been torn apart. This ancient battlefield that had existed since ancient times was on the verge of collapse after being hit by the mother of the red spider lilies. And the lord of the Blood Pagoda, the King of Assassins, was imprisoned in the great Tao cage. Surrender or die. The mother of the red spider lilies spat out a few words coldly. If a quasi-emperor was worthless in her eyes, then the King of Assassins in front of her had some value. Of course, it was not his value to her, but his value to Jun Xiaoyao. Even the powerfun Jun family could not ignore the power of an emperor. Hearing the mother of the red spider lily's words, the king of assassins' eyes twitched. To be honest, in the face of a supreme emperor, it was impossible for him to resist. This kind of powerhouse was already at the top of the emperors. One more step, and it was close to the god realm. It was close to a mythical existence. Hateful, I have built the blood pagoda on a bumpy road. How can I die like this? The king of assassins' face was incomparably ferocious. Generally speaking, when one reached the great emperor realm, one's state of mind would be like an ancient well. But not all emperors were like this. The king of assassins had experienced ups and downs, and even had the experience of hiding in a cesspool. This made him extremely realistic. Other than killing and becoming stronger, he had no other purpose. I can't fall here, although for a great emperor, surrendering was an absolutely humiliating thing. But the king of assassins had even escaped from cesspool. Why would he be afraid of surrendering? Everything is worthless when one dies. As long as one is alive, there is hope. The king of assassins whispered. Just now, when he broke through the blood sea, he vaguely felt that the great Tao was returning between heaven and earth. That should be a great emperor who had fallen not long ago. The king of assassins did not want to be like that fallen great emperor. I am willing to surrender, the king of assassins said coldly. The mother of the red spider lilies did not say a word. Then a slender jade finger pointed out. A destructive mark escaped into the king of assassins' body. That was a restriction and shackle. Just like when Jun Wuhui had restrained the Fufeng of Gojoseon. After all, the king of assassins was a true emperor. If he went berserk, the consequences would be unimaginable. The mother waved her hand and brought the king of assassins to break through the realm. Elsewhere, in the chaotic star region, when a monarch imperial court's army arrived at the Blood Pagoda's encampment that Jiang Heng had calculated, everyone was a little confused. The reason for that was because there was nothing in front of him. Not even a single star could be seen. Only the huge abyssal rifts that stretched for billions of miles were left in the void. This cosmos was like a mirror that was shattered. Many void rifts and valleys appeared. What's going on? This place seems to have experienced a great battle. Is it that destructive wave from before? Who could cause such great destruction? What about the Blood Pagoda's fortress? Could it be that Quasi-Emperor Jiang Heng of the Jiang clan made a mistake? The Alliance army was dumbfounded. The experts of the major forces who came with him, such as the Yi family of the Ancients, the Demon Immortal Cult, the Demon God Palace, and the Holy Spirit College, were also confused. On the deck of an Ark of War, a tall and imposing Wu who had a deep gaze. He raised his hand and caught a strand of dust in the air. I'm afraid the Blood Pagoda has already been reduced to ashes. Wuhu's words silenced the entire army. There was dead silence in all directions. Many cultivators had a look of extreme astonishment on their faces. The Blood Pagoda is gone? Impossible. Even if a true great emperor personally took action, it's impossible to destroy it so thoroughly in such a short time, right? Yes, and I heard that if the Blood Pagoda's fortress was fully defended, it could even block the attack of a great emperor for a short time. Many people didn't believe it because it was too inconceivable. Nothing is impossible for the supreme beings of my clan. Suddenly, the Nirvana heavenly maiden Meng Nu walked out and said. Hearing this, the surrounding cultivators were surprised again. Then, they suddenly thought of someone. She was the existence who fought side by side with Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Wuhui in the Battle of Calamity. Hiss! Countless gasps of cold air were heard. If it was her, then it was reasonable. However, it was indeed unexpected that such an existence would take action because Jun Xiaoyao was plotted against. Did we really come here for nothing? Many of the accompanying powerhouses were speechless, just as the entire army did not know what to do. Suddenly, the void seemed to tremble. Immediately, two figures appeared above the starry sky, attracting everyone's attention. The one who came was naturally the mother of the red spider lilies. Greetings, supreme beings. Meng Nu, Er's eyes were filled with fanatical respect as she shouted loudly. It's really the mother of the red spider lilies. Greetings, mother of the red spider lilies. Countless cultivators in the entire army cupped their hands. Although the mother of the red spider lilies was considered an immortal of the foreign realm before. However, she fought side by side with Jun Xiaoyao and the others against the calamity and won the respect of the immortal realm. Also, the mother of the red spider lily's strength was unfathomable, which was the biggest reason why she was respected. The mother of the red spider lilies was peerless, but no one dared to stare at her. Therefore, many people shifted their gaze and saw the existence behind the mother of the red spider lilies. Could that be the Lord of the Blood Pagoda, the terrifying king of assassins? Among the Alliance army, there was no lack of experienced powerhouses, so they naturally knew a lot. It's really the king of assassins. I knew it, after the destruction of the Blood Pagoda. How could the king of assassins not make a move? He's a true great emperor of the path of killing. But now, why does it feel like he's been suppressed by the mother of the red spider lilies? This scene caused the entire Alliance army to be speechless. That was a true great emperor, one who stood above billions of living beings. But now, he was suppressed and became a prisoner. Everyone's respect for the mother of the red spider lilies deepened. It's really that great emperor of the path of killing. I heard that his rise was not much better than that of the ancient chaos great emperor, and he once hid in a cesspool. Oh, could it be that he's the famous great emperor of the cesspool and the rumors? Yes, I heard that his real name is Go Sheng, but because he's not elegant and looks a little like a dog, he only calls himself the king of assassins. Hearing those faint whispers, the king of assassins, Go Sheng, the muscles on his face twitched, and his eyes shot out a murderous light, shaking the void. Who dared to mention the great emperor of the cesspool and Go Sheng in front of him? This was his dark history. Anyone who mentioned it would have their entire family wiped out. The mother of the red spider lilies snorted coldly, and Go Sheng immediately felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His great emperor body trembled, and the mark of destruction in his body seemed to be about to explode. The king of assassins had never been so aggrieved. You, listen to Jun Xiaoyao's orders. Submit to the imperial court, and this is to atone for the sins of the Blood Pagoda. The mother of the red spider lilies coldly threw out these words, and her figure faded into the void, disappearing. With her strength, she could wipe out the 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty, but she was too lazy to do so. She just needed to express her attitude. The king of assassins was stunned. He had thought that the mother of the red spider lilies wanted to take him as her servant. Who would have thought that the mother of the red spider lilies didn't care about him at all? She looked down on him, the great emperor, and handed him over to Jun Xiaoyao. The mark of destruction in his body was still there. If he did anything crazy or disobeyed Jun Xiaoyao's orders, the mark of destruction in his body would immediately explode, and even his great emperor body would be blown to pieces. The infamous king of assassins didn't say a word as he landed on the Ark of War. That faint great emperor aura made the surrounding people not dare to get close. Wu Hu's eyes were also solemn, as expected of the great emperor of assassins. Even with his current strength, he couldn't compete with him. Unless he completely refined the heart of protector and the blood of the desolate emperor and reached the quasi-emperor level, he would be able to compete with him. Everyone stayed far away from the king of assassins. Only one creature actually walked toward the king of assassins, and even wanted to put his arm around his shoulder. It was Jun Xiaoyao's former mount, the 9-headed lion. Hey, brother, you're also called Goshen. What a coincidence. My nickname is also Goshen. The 9-headed lion casually said, and wanted to put his arm around the king of assassins' shoulder. It felt so good to call a great emperor brother. However, the king of assassins' face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He looked up to the sky and roared. His voice shook thousands of miles and shattered the stars in outer space, venting the depression in his heart. He wasn't called Goshen, nor was he the great emperor of Dong. He was the master of the Blood Pagoda, the king of assassins. Chapter 1225. Hey, brother, do you also know the lion's roar, the 9-headed lion? It's fate. The 9-headed lion covered its ears in surprise. Not only did this person have the same name as it, but he also knew the lion's roar. The king of assassins wanted to kill the nine-headed lion with a single glance. However, the mark of destruction in his body was constantly monitoring his actions. If the king of assassins overstepped his boundaries, he would immediately die. Therefore, he couldn't kill the emperor's hall. He didn't want to die. He wanted to live. Generally speaking, the stronger one was, the more he cherished his life. In the end, the king of assassins, who was filled with anger, only spat out a word coldly. Get lost. The sound wave was so powerful that it sent the nine-headed lion flying, making it dizzy. Hey, you're called Gosheng, and I'm also called Gosheng. We're from the same root. Why are you so anxious to kill each other? Oh, right, you also have a title, the Emperor of Feces. I'm different from you. I'm a nine-headed lion, not a dog, so I don't like to eat feces. But you're a human. How can you like feces? This shouldn't be. Don't tell me you really like feces? The nine-headed lion kept chattering as it combed its mane. The king of assassins' eyes were bloodshot, and his blood-red hair danced in the wind. Ah! The king of assassins looked up at the sky and roared in grief. He rushed out of the universe and destroyed countless stars to vent his anger. Why did a great emperor suddenly go crazy? He doesn't have the temperament of an emperor at all. His temperament is not as good as mine. The nine-headed lion curled its lips and commented. The surrounding cultivators were speechless, and black lines appeared on their foreheads. To be able to anger an emperor to this extent, you're also a talent. No, a lion talent. The parrot in the bronze immortal palace smacked its lips and said. They were both beasts, but why was the nine-headed lion so arrogant? Who would have thought that the king of assassins, the lord of Blood Pagoda, would be so miserable? Although he didn't die, he didn't seem to be much better than the soul overlord who had already fallen. Is this the consequence of provoking the June family? They're either dead or crazy. Seeing this scene, countless cultivators thought to themselves. The consequences of provoking June Xiaoyao were too tragic. After the secluded country, the Blood Pagoda also ended in such an absurd scene. Finally, the most eye-catching group was naturally the main army of the June family. And what they were facing was also the oldest and most mysterious heaven of the Jin dynasty, the three great assassins. Heaven was located in the Huntian immortal realm. This was something that many people did not expect. After all, the Huntian immortal realm was Xian Ting's territory. As an overlord faction that had once unified the Nine Heavens immortal realm and established the rules of the world, the Nine Heavens immortal realm was still in a daze. Who would dare to provoke Xian Ting? However, Heaven, an assassin from the Jin dynasty, took root in the Huntian immortal realm. This was indeed beyond many people's expectations. A thoughtful look flashed across the eyes of some people. Would the supreme Xian Ting allow the Jun family's army to enter the Huntian immortal realm so easily? Or think about it from a different perspective. If the Xian Ting army wanted to enter the Huangtian mystic realm for some reason, they would have to fight. Would the Jun family agree? For a moment, many big shots of the immortal forces were deep in thought as they paid attention to the battle. The Huntian immortal realm was not close to the Huangtian mystic realm. Even a supreme being would need a long time to cross it. However, the Jun family was full of vigor and was eager for revenge. All kinds of immortal sources were poured into the arc of war as if they were free. The light of the formation lit up from time to time. The extravagant way of burning money made countless forces speechless. It was an eye-opener. The consumption of the Jun family's army alone was enough to match the resources of many forces for many years. It did not take long. The vast army of the Jun family's main bloodline rushed to the Huntian immortal realm like a steel dragon. This was an incomparably vast area. It was even much larger than the previous Huntian immortal realm. Countless forces lived in this immortal realm. Most of them were under the command of the Xian Ting. The Xian Ting had almost absolute dominance over the Huntian immortal realm. However, before the Xian Ting split, the entire Nine Heavens immortal realm was ruled by the Xian Ting. The nine immortal heritages ruled the nine immortal realms. However, after the collapse of the supreme Xian Ting, their sphere of influence shrank to the Huntian immortal realm. In fact, at that time, the Jun family was too lazy to care about the Xianting. The Xianting had once unified the Nine Heavens immortal realm, but in fact, only a small group of Xianting's army was stationed in the Huangtian immortal realm. The Jun family was too lazy to chase them away. They were just watching a clown. Now, the Jun family had come to the Huntian immortal realm, which was undoubtedly a risk. This risk did not come from heaven. It came from a Xianting. At a certain moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded in the void. Halt! In the universe ahead, a group of Xianting's heavenly soldiers and generals appeared. There were not many of them, only a small team. The Huntian immortal realm is under the Xianting sphere of influence. The vast army of the Jun family was enough to intimidate countless forces. However, this group of heavenly soldiers and generals had no scruples. Obviously, there was an order behind them. They are here. Many supreme experts and old antiques who were watching the battle became alert. As one of the two overlords of the immortal realm, it would be strange if the Xianting did not stir up trouble. Get lost. Jun Tianming, the eighth patriarch, only spat out a word coldly. The Jun family was not in the mood to tangle with the Xianting. Even if you want to enter the Huntian immortal realm, you have to get the Xianting's permission. Otherwise, I will go and report it, the Xianting's heavenly general said. Jun Tianming let out a cold snort. Without another word, he struck out with his palm. How dare you? At this moment, a thunderous voice exploded. On the Huntian immortal realm side, a giant hand formed by the laws reached out and pressed down on Jun Tianming. You are the one who is being impudent. Jun Taihao, the fifth patriarch, glared and slashed out with his hatchet, directly cutting the giant hand of laws in half. Hiss! Many gasps could be heard from all directions. The Jun family was so powerful. This is awesome. You are still so domineering in the Xianting's territory. As expected of the Jun family. Jun family, you are a little too much. What is the meaning of such a large army entering the Xianting's territory? A figure exuding the energy of a quasi-emperor emerged. It was a quasi-emperor of the Fuxi immortal system. The Xianting should know what the Jun family is going to do. So don't block our way. Jun Taixian, the sixth patriarch, held an ancient peachwood sword in his hand. Sword chi filled the sky. You want to eradicate heaven? But this is too much. Why don't you wait until we drive heaven out of the Huntian immortal realm before you go and annihilate it? The quasi-emperor of the Fuxi immortal system said lightly. This time, some of the people who were secretly observing also frowned, thinking that this was too much. They were obviously making things difficult for the Jun family. However, this was the Xianting's territory. If the Jun family's army entered rashly, they might even start a war. If that happened, they would probably suffer great losses with the Xianting before they could even wipe out heaven. However, at this moment, the entire universe seemed to be trembling slightly, and billions of stars were shaken to the ground. A hazy figure slowly walked over. It was as if he was stepping on all Taos. Behind him, 9 giant golden dragons roared in the sky, shaking the endless world. Each of the giant golden dragons seemed to be able to devour a great world. This incomparably majestic and hazy figure stood on top of the 9 dragons, looking down at the vast universe. Where the Jun family's army points, gods and demons shall retreat. Xianting, either you fight or get lost. The third patriarch of the Jun family, the Emperor Tai, dominated the galaxy and swallowed the universe. Chapter 1226. His majestic imperial voice reverberated across millions of miles. This was the attitude of an emperor. Jun Taihuang's speech was domineering. However, it was not intentional. It was just a natural display of his personality. In other words, there was no one in the Jun family who was not domineering. Jun Xiaoyao displayed the domineering personality inherited from his family to the extreme. The quasi-emperor of Fuxi immortal lineage felt a monstrous aura pouring down on him. Even though he was a quasi-emperor, he could feel his body cracking as if he was being crushed by an ancient deity. Splat! The quasi-emperor of Fushi immortal lineage was forced to one knee by the terrifying aura. This left everyone dumbstruck and incomparably stunned. The quasi-emperor of Fushi immortal lineage broke out in cold sweat. His face was twitching. He was forced to kneel in front of countless forces. How humiliating was this for a quasi-emperor? This is not an ordinary emperor. The quasi-emperor of Fushi immortal lineage's teeth were chattering. This aura was too terrifying. Although ordinary emperors were strong, they would not be able to force a quasi-emperor to one knee with just their aura alone. Jun Taihuang's true strength was definitely beyond that of an ordinary emperor. Even the quasi-emperor of Fushi immortal lineage was the same. The fate of the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals was obvious. One by one, they exploded into clouds of blood mist. They couldn't be any more dead. Fortunately, it was only a small group of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. If it was a large army, the Xianting and the Jun family would have to fight it out. At this moment, a calm voice was heard. As expected of the famous Emperor Tai Wang of the Jun family, you were unparalleled in your generation. Now you don't have to make things difficult for a quasi-emperor descendant, do you? Although the voice was faint, it was like the rumbling of Taoist music that resounded in everyone's ears. It's the Emperor of Xianting. The big shots of the forces of the immortal domain who were watching the situation were shocked. Even the Emperor of Xianting had appeared. Was he going to fight the Jun family? After all, a team of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals had died in Xianting. This matter could be said to be very big, but it could also be very small. Jun Taihuang's hazy face was expressionless, as calm as water. If you don't want to fight, then don't block my way. Imperial brother, your Jun family's army has invaded my Xianting's territory in such a domineering manner. Isn't this a bit too much? The Emperor of Xianting said with a faint smile. Jun Taihuang raised his eyelids slightly. Who's calling you brother? When I attain my Tao, you are still wearing diapers. A single sentence caused the entire celestial realm to fall deathly silent. Countless experts widened their eyes, their jaws dropping to the ground. The third ancestor of the Jun family seemed to be a little too domineering. When he attained the Tao, was the Emperor of Xianting still wearing diapers? This was definitely blatant disdain. Even the Emperor of Xianting was stunned. Truth be told, if it were any other martial monarch, they would not accept such humiliation. Many people were guessing whether the Emperor of the Immortal Court would directly attack Jun Taihuang. A cold voice was heard. Retreat, my lord. The quasi-emperor of Fushi celestial lineage was reluctant, but he still gritted his teeth and retreated. At the sight of this, many experts from various forces were astonished. The Emperor of Xianting had retreated. No, rather than retreating, it was more accurate to say that the Emperor of Xianting did not want to fall out with the Jun family. The reason was simple. This was because the current immortal court was not completely unified. Although it was known as the complete Xianting to the outside world, there were serious internal divisions. The immortal lineage of Empress Hua and the immortal lineage of Fushi were fighting for the right to rule the immortal lineage. The current young Emperor Ling Yin and the ancient young Emperor Di Haoyin corresponded to the immortal lineage of Empress Hua and the Fushi lineage. In addition, the other immortal lineages also had their own thoughts. Before the Xianting was unified, it was not wise to rashly start a war with the Jun family, an immortal lineage of immortals. This time, the Xianting deliberately attacked to make things difficult for the Jun family. In fact, they were also trying to figure out the Jun family's attitude. Now, the Jun family's attitude was clear. If they want to fight, then let's fight. The Jun family is not afraid to fight. Therefore, the Xianting temporarily retreated. Humph, boring. Jun Tianming snorted coldly. The Jun family's army continued to surge into the Huntian immortal realm. The Grand Elder of the Immortal Academy was among the army. He was not the only one. Some disciples of the Immortal Academy, including Jun Xiaoyao's followers, companions, and friends, were also there. Firstly, they wanted to avenge Jun Xiaoyao. Secondly, they wanted to train themselves through the immortal battle. War God Barbarian, a follower of Jun Wuhui and one of the 8 divine kings, was also there. He wanted to avenge his young master. As for Agio, the zither girl with double pupils, she did not show up. Ever since she parted ways with Jun Xiaoyao on the buried Emperor's star, Agio had been cultivating alone and disappeared completely. She did not return to the Jun family. Not long after, the Jun family found the location of the heaven in their divination. However, when they saw this area, not to mention the forces that were watching from afar, even some people in the Jun family's army were a little surprised, because this was not an ancient forbidden land, nor was it a hidden place, nor was it an ancient world or a small world. This was a mortal world. Looking around, there were village houses, crisscross paths, old cows plowing the fields, and children playing. There were also peasant women washing clothes by a stream. This is where the heaven is? The ancestral patriarchs of a Jun family were a little surprised. If this was not deduced by Jiang Heng, who mastered the heavenly secret divine technique, they even thought that there might be a mistake. Hey, Daddy, look, there are so many people flying in the sky. A child pulled the corner of a middle-aged man's clothes and pointed at the Jun family's army in the sky. Sure, that's a deity. When the villagers saw this, they all knelt on the ground. This made the Jun family's army a little confused. Was this the place they were going to conquer? But this was a group of mortals. It was useless to kill them. However, in the sky, the 4th ancestor of the Jun family, Jun Taiyin, had a cold smile on her gentle face. Her lips curved into a mocking smile. She slammed her palm down, and endless starlight gathered. Millions of stars fell from the sky, turning into a destructive meteor shower that fell on the mortal world. Ancestor Taiyin, some ancestral patriarchs of the Jun family wanted to say something, but stopped. In fact, there was an unwritten rule in the world of cultivation. It was just that under normal circumstances, cultivators couldn't slaughter mortals wantonly for no reason. This was because every cultivator started out as a mortal. Mortals were the foundation. If all the mortals were killed, the cultivators with the lowest cultivation would replace the mortals and become the new bottom layer. As this cycle continued, the number of living beings in the world would decrease. This was definitely a disaster. However, Jun Taiyin did not care. Isn't avenging the Jun family's Qilin child 10,000 times more important than the lives of a group of mortals? Also, look carefully, Jun Taiyin sneered. Rumble. The destructive meteor shower fell, and the group of mortals in the mortal world sank into destruction. Many of the spectating forces felt that they had gone too far. Suddenly, a corner of the array pattern flickered. The entire mortal world had turned into a vast array of destruction in an instant. The complete version of the 6th ancient killing array. The heavenly hall does have some foundation, Jun Taiyin said indifferently as she picked her delicate fingernails. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then they understood. The entire mortal world was actually transformed from the ancient 6th killing formation. This was the reason why almost no one could find the heavenly hall. At this moment, a cold voice sounded, as expected of the 4th ancestor of the Jun family. Today, you want to destroy the heavenly hall. The Jun family will suffer a great loss. Chapter 12:27. At first, many of the powerhouses were a little confused. Heaven was actually hidden in the mortal world. It was only now that the light of the killing array appeared that many people realized it. It turned out that the entire mortal world was a powerful killing array. The 6th ancient killing array. The 1st and 2nd killing arrays of the ancient era had almost been lost. The Jun family had the complete 3rd ancient killing array. For heaven to have the complete 6th ancient killing array was definitely a strong foundation. It could be said that many powerful immortal forces did not have an ancient killing array. The 6th ancient killing array also had a special characteristic, which was that it possessed part of the power of an illusory array. This was also the reason why the 6th killing formation could transform into a mortal realm. This illusory array was so exquisite that even the average boundary emperor would not be able to find any clues without careful observation. The 4th ancestor, Jun Taiyin, saw through it at a glance. Of course, She was not the only one who saw through it. It was just that she was the first to act. TSK. No wonder heaven was able to become the head of the Jin dynasty. This foundation has indeed opened up a gap between them and the other two great Jin dynasty. The Blood Pagoda did not have an ancient killing array, the eighth ancient killing array of the Yu Kingdom. However, the difference in power between the ranks of the ancient killing arrays was like heaven and earth. At this moment, the entire mortal world had been transformed into a killing array. However, the Jun family army was not afraid at all. To think that the sixth Archean killing formation could stop their torrent of steel, that was simply wishful thinking. Kill. The eighth ancestor of the Jun family, Jun Tianming, commanded. The energy-gathering array on the 20 war arcs lit up with a dazzling light. It was the combined power of countless cultivators, which transformed into a destructive cannon of magical laws that blasted toward the halls of heaven's headquarters. Boom, boom, boom. The place suddenly trembled as if an apocalyptic army was about to destroy the mortal world. Kill. However, on the heavens side, numerous figures also appeared in a flash. At the same time, 5 figures appeared, and the Boundary Emperor's power shook the world. They controlled the sixth ancient killing array at the same time to fight against the Jun family army. Countless assassins from the Heavenly Hall also appeared in the void and ambushed the Jun family's army. The battle broke out without any prelude. The Jun family army was like a giant steel beast, crushing everything in its path. The Heavenly Hall could only rely on the sixth ancient killing formation and the 5 boundary emperors to resist. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that this was just a desperate struggle of a cornered beast. Activate the Emperor weapon. There were quasi-emperors roaring in heaven. 3 balls of light appeared, emitting a vast emperor's aura. They were 3 immortal monarch weapons. As a nation of assassins, the Heavenly Hall had harvested many spoils of war, so it was natural for them to have many monarch weapons. However, competing with the Jun family was like a beggar competing with the king to see who was richer. Over at the Jun family side, there was also a vast Emperor's aura, Emperor Mirror, Earth Emperor's Book, and Emperor Brush. The 3 Emperor armaments were summoned. Of course, the Jun family also brought out a few other Imperial weapons. After all, during the Immortal War, the Jun family had defeated the 7 major forces and harvested many Imperial weapons. At this moment, the cultivators of the Heavenly Hall were even more gloomy. How were they supposed to fight? However, the eyes of the 5 quasi-emperors were cold. Even if heaven were to be destroyed, the Jun family would not have it easy either. If the Heavenly Hall only relies on the 6th ancient killing formation, it is only a matter of time before it is destroyed. Don't forget that there is still a big shot who hasn't made his move yet. Many people looked at the majestic figure standing above the universe. The majestic Emperor's aura was vast, and the dragon's roar filled the sky. The 3rd ancestor Grand Emperor looked at the vast battle below, his eyes as calm as an ancient well. As the 3rd ancestor of the Jun family, he had seen too many grand battles. Compared to those battles, the Immortal War was not like a child's play, but it was still very ordinary. However, Grand Emperor did not want to delay. He slowly raised his hand, and the power of the Great Path gathered, shaking the heavens. Then he slammed his palm down, trying to destroy the 6th ancient killing formation. That palm of laws came crashing down like the heavens, enveloping the entire mortal world within it. It was as if he could crush everything with a single palm. This was the power of the 3rd ancestor of the Jun family, Grand Emperor. Oh my God, is this the end of the world? He can destroy an entire world with a single palm. Fortunately, the Huntian Mystic Realm's laws are extremely ancient and sturdy. Otherwise, the entire Mystic Realm would be shaken. All the forces who were watching the battle gasped. It was just a simple palm, and he did not use any powerful techniques. However, it felt more terrifying than any other technique. On heaven's side, even the 5 boundary emperors were shocked. They looked at each other, and a look of determination flashed across their eyes. Activate A nine-winged angel from heaven shouted coldly. Boom! A vast aura exploded, and an immeasurable amount of golden holy light was suddenly emitted from heaven's encampment. A figure shrouded in golden holy light appeared. What was even more shocking was that there were actually 12 wings of light behind his back. Many people held their breaths when they saw this scene. Everyone knew that the strength of heaven's assassins was determined by the wings of light behind them. A nine-winged angel was a boundary emperor expert. A 12-winged angel was undoubtedly a true emperor-level existence. The 12-winged angel was a woman. Her face was covered with a helmet, and she wore skirt armor. She looked valiant, and the 12 wings of light behind her flapped. Her emperor aura shook the universe. She held a spear of light in her hand, and it collided with the Grand Emperor's palm of laws, creating huge waves. Behind her, a terrifying battle formation appeared. There were at least 10,000 figures, and they were all angels with wings of light behind their backs. So this is heaven's trump card. It's terrifying. No wonder they're the head of the Jin dynasty's 3 great assassins. Wait. Why do I feel that the 12-winged angel's condition isn't right? Some of the immortal realm experts saw some clues, and they took a deep breath. That 12-winged angel isn't human. It's a puppet, one of the experts exclaimed. Everyone was shocked. No one expected this. The 12-winged angel was actually a puppet with emperor-level strength. How rare was that? It was even rarer than an emperor weapon. It's not just the 12-winged angel. The 10,000 figures behind her are all puppets. Someone pointed out, this time, all the forces were in an uproar. The depth of the heavenly hall shocked many people. It was no wonder that heaven had such a long history and hadn't been destroyed. Which immortal realm expert could destroy such a foundation? The boundary emperor of heaven smiled coldly. This is heaven's emperor-level angel saint puppet and the 10,000 angel battle formation. We've already said that if the June family wants to destroy heaven, they'll have to suffer a great loss. The 5 quasi-emperors of the heavenly hall relaxed. Clearly, this foundation was enough to intimidate most immortal realm experts. Unfortunately, the June family wasn't one of them. In the depths of the universe, June Taiwang looked at the emperor-level angel saint puppet with a calm expression. There's still someone else. Come out as well. June Taiwang's tone was indifferent. His words, however, caused everyone to be shocked. Heaven still had a hidden foundation, just as everyone was in shock and confusion. An old man's laughter suddenly rang out. Ha! As expected of the 3rd forefather of the June family. Heaven has made the biggest mistake this time. An old man in a holy robe appeared silently. The aura he exuded was suffocating. Another emperor. Chapter 1228. This old man who had suddenly appeared seemed ordinary and unremarkable. However, there was no doubt that he was an emperor. He was dressed in a pure white robe, with no wings of light on his back. His appearance was ordinary, and his hair was gray. He looked like an old man in the mortal world, and he even seemed a little amiable. However, Heaven was the top assassin of the Jin dynasty. As a member of Heaven, this old man was obviously not a kind person. Is that Old Man Heaven? Some of the big shots from the imperishable forces narrowed their eyes when they saw the old man. Old Man Heaven was the most mysterious member of Heaven, and he was very old. He almost never appeared in the world, nor did he make a move. As long as he existed, it was a form of deterrence. Now, the June family's army had arrived. Old Man Heaven could not sleep anymore, so he had to come out and fight. Otherwise, the entire heaven would be destroyed. He did not think that an Emperor-level angel saint puppet could stop Emperor Tai. Although it was an Emperor-level puppet, there was still a gap between it and a real Emperor-level powerhouse, and it could not fight for a long time. Moreover, Emperor Tai was much more powerful than the average Emperor-level powerhouse. It was undoubtedly wishful thinking to rely on a puppet to fight Emperor Tai. Old Man Heaven, you are still alive. Even Emperor Tai was a little surprised. Even he had heard of Old Man Heaven, who had lived for many eras. Of course, it seemed that half of his body was already in the ground. After all, not everyone was born with an incomparably long lifespan like the Shanao of Beach. If he did not have a special opportunity, Old Man Heaven would not live for long. We failed at the last step, but there is nothing we can do about it. The June family has indeed produced an outstanding young man. Old Man Heaven was the most senior member of Heaven. It was extremely rare to hear a compliment coming out of his mouth. However, when the crowd thought about it, they found it reasonable. After all, in the entire mystic realm, there was no one who could survive the fatal attacks of the three emperor-level powerhouses of the Jin dynasty. Jun Xiaoyao was the only one. Cut the crap. Let's fight in outer space. Emperor Tai was very straightforward and did not want to waste time. Everyone was surprised when they heard this. Jun Tai was going to fight the mysterious Old Man Heaven and the Saint Puppet alone. 1 versus 2, this was not something that anyone could do. Especially after reaching the martial monarch realm, it was very difficult to suppress those of the same level. Third ancestor. Some great ancestors of the Jun family were worried. Don't worry. Jun Taiyin and the other ancient ancestors didn't really care. How could the title of Emperor Tai be undeserved? Old Man Heaven sighed and didn't say anything. He took out a silver scepter that emitted a dazzling divine splendor. Seeing this, the 9 golden dragons behind Jun Tai roared. Finally, they intertwined and merged together to form a brilliant golden divine sword. 9 true dragon souls. Seeing this, many immortal forces, antiques, and living fossils couldn't help but gasp. The 9-dragon god sword was a weapon refined from celestial materials, Tao Tribulation Gold, and 9 true dragon souls. Only the Jun family's great Emperor Realm ancestor would have been able to do such a thing. After all, that was the soul of a true dragon, which was rarely seen since ancient times. The appearance of a true dragon was enough to sweep across all directions. Holding the 9-dragon god sword in his hand, Jun Tai soared into the depths of the universe. Old Man Heaven and the great Emperor Angel Sheng Ho also soared into the sky and disappeared. In the next moment, an earth-shattering roar came from the depths of the universe. It was the sound of the Great Path, which overturned the sun, the moon, and the stars. Even the chaotic chi was blown out. The power of the vibrations even made the Huntian mystic realm tremble slightly. The battle between great emperors had begun. Many people wanted to witness the battle with their own eyes, but they couldn't get close. It was even difficult to watch from afar. That was because the great emperor light was so dazzling that it almost blinded people. Cultivators below the quasi-emperor level could not even watch the battle, even if they wanted to. Only those above the boundary emperor realm could catch a glimpse of it. On the other side, the Jun family's army was still fighting against the Heaven. The 5 boundary emperors of the Heaven relied on the 6th ancient killing formation to barely hold on and buy time. Of course, the ancient ancestors of the Jun family were no pushovers either. Jun Taihao, the 5th ancestor, held a hatchet in his hand. With a slash, the hatchet flew across thousands of miles and destroyed one side of the formation. The 4th ancestor, Jun Taiyin, looked like a gentle woman from the outside. She even had the temperament of a little bird. But now, she had turned into a violent maniac. With a raise of her hand, the power of a 9th tribulation boundary emperor shook the universe. How dare you hurt the Jun family's child? I didn't even see great-grandmother with my own eyes. You almost got me killed. Jun Taiyin raised her eyebrows. With a raise of her hand, the endless power of the stars gathered and turned into a giant star. Like a meteor crashing into Earth, it crashed down on the 6th ancient killing formation below. Tianyu Quaking Star. The corners of the eyes of many spectating experts twitched when they saw how violent the 4th ancestor was. As expected of the Jun family, men, women, old, and young are all so domineering and violent. Boom! The giant star fell. The 6th ancient killing formation shook, and many of the formation patterns were damaged. The power of the vibrations instantly turned the assassins of the Heaven into blood foam. They didn't even have time to scream. Everyone in the Heaven placed their hopes on Old Man Heaven and the divine Emperor Angel. Even if they won, they could only temporarily order the Jun family to retreat. But it would also give them a chance to survive. After an unknown amount of time, the whole world was already covered in blood fog. Millions of corpses lay in the sea of blood. This was the immortal battle. Once it started, rivers of blood would flow. At this time, in the depths of the universe, there was a shocking collision, accompanied by the splashing of Emperor blood. I'm still old after all. The voice was weak. It was Old Man Heaven. The next moment, a golden sword light that stretched for hundreds of millions of miles crossed the sky. Then, with a loud bang, the divine Emperor Angel was cut in half. No, seeing this scene, the people of the heaven were full of despair. Old Man Heaven and the divine Emperor puppet were no match for the Emperor Tai. You should have realized this from the moment you made a move against my June family. The Emperor Tai held the 9 dragons' divine sword, his face indifferent. Old Man Heaven chuckled. I'm not satisfied. If I could complete this task, I would have been able to obtain a great opportunity to extend my life. Then, I would have been able to wait for the real opportunity to sublimate. Unfortunately, I think this may be retribution. After all, back then, you killed so many people for the Xian Ting. Old Man Heaven's words immediately made all the powerhouses of the forces in the crowd widen their eyes. Some of them couldn't believe their ears. What was he talking about? Killing people for the Xian Ting? What's going on? He ignored the shocked gazes around him. Old Man Heaven said to himself with a bitter smile on his face, My heaven, as the assassination organization of the Xian Ting, is now almost destroyed. Is the Xian Ting still indifferent? Or is it that when the Xian Ting was first established, the sacrifices of my ancestors were all in vain? Chapter 1229. The crowd fell silent after hearing Old Man Heaven's words. No one had expected Old Man Heaven to say such words at this moment. Did Old Man Heaven do something for the Xian Ting? No. Or was Old Man Heaven a part of the Xian Ting? What are you talking about? A cold voice came from the galaxy far away. It was the boundary monarch of the Xian Ting expressing his dissatisfaction. The 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty were notorious in the 9 heavens immortal realm, but they were not far from it. Being associated with them would surely affect one's reputation. That kid, you're still too young. You don't know about the history that has been sealed away. Old Man Heaven put on a fake smile. The boundary monarch of the Xian Ting responded coldly, but he could not say anything to refute it. In terms of age and experience, he was no different from a kid in front of Old Man Heaven. Many of the factions in the area fell into deep thought. They finally came to a realization. Why was Old Man Heaven stationed in the Huntian immortal realm instead of somewhere else? Was that the truth behind the matter? But why was the Xian Ting related to Old Man Heaven? One was the dominator of the 9 heavens immortal realm. The other was a kingdom of assassins in the shadows. As a matter of fact, many people were curious about the history behind Old Man Heaven. The boundary monarch of the Xian Ting was displeased. He said coldly, Third forefather of the Jun clan, didn't you say you wanted to destroy the Old Man Heaven? Just kill him. He did not want Old Man Heaven to say more. Do I need a junior like you to tell me what to do? Jun Taiwang harumphed coldly. The boundary monarch of the Xian Ting was knocked back by the aura. He groaned as the blood in his chest churned. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He glanced at Jun Taiwang with great caution. He could not afford to offend this man. Old Man Heaven's gaze turned kind when he saw the situation. At least Jun Taiwang was willing to let him finish his sentence. A general success is built on thousands of bones. The rise of a ruling faction usually means billions of bones. Even the formidable Xian Ting couldn't suppress the entire 9 heavens immortal realm when it was first established. Back then, the reason for establishing the Xian Ting was because of the throne of the Celestial Emperor. Some ancient supreme experts believe that the appearance of the Heavenly Emperor's throne meant that in the future, a hegemonic power was destined to rise in the immortal realms. The Celestial Emperor's throne is the symbol of the power of an overlord. Therefore, a terrifying force began to form around the Sky Emperor's throne. However, there are too many factions that we have to suppress in order to conquer the 9 heavens immortal realm. It's not exaggerating to say that we have to slaughter every living thing. Therefore, the Xian Ting set up an assassination organization that specializes in assassinating the leaders of the forces that oppose the Xian Ting's hegemony. At this moment, the quasi-emperors of Xian Ting appeared. Someone interrupted coldly. Enough, old man heaven. Don't talk nonsense. That's right. I, Xian Ting, have brought order and stability to the celestial realm, and I've made great contributions. How could I be someone that you can erase? Shut up. Before old man heaven could say anything, Jun Taiwang snapped coldly and knocked the quasi-emperors of Xian Ting back. Old man heaven smiled at Jun Taiwang. It was hard to imagine that the two who were destined to fight to the death would be so harmonious. The Xian Ting was established to unite the celestial realm and become the hegemonic power, the founder of order. Therefore, they can't afford to have too many blemishes on their reputation. As the saying goes, the history books are written by the victors. They won't leave behind the darkness and filth. As a matter of fact, the Jun clan was strong enough to compete with the Xian Ting for supremacy. However, the Jun clan was too easygoing. It even split into the main clan and the hidden clan due to different ideologies. In the end, the Xian Ting emerged as the victors. They started to feel superior, as if they were the saviors of the celestial realm. The predecessor of Old Man Heaven, the Xian Ting assassination organization, was not recognized by the Xian Ting because they had done too many dark and filthy things. When the birds are gone, the bow is put away. When the cunning rabbit is dead, the hound is cooked. After the Xian Ting succeeded, there was no need for an assassination organization. The assassination organization was excluded and was even warned not to reveal anything about the Xian Ting. Later on, the leaders of many assassination organizations died mysteriously. The celestial realm declined step by step. It relied on the remaining resources to become Old Man Heaven. Maybe the immortal court is still a little bit merciful. That's why they allowed the heavenly hall to live and die on its own. But I hate it. The word hate was enough to express Old Man Heaven's unwillingness. Why should the predecessors of Old Man Heaven stain their hands with blood for the sake of the Xian Ting and become a dirty rat that everyone hates? Why should Old Man Heaven not have a share of the glory of the Xian Ting? Now that Old Man Heaven is in danger, the Xian Ting really doesn't care about our friendship. Old Man Heaven shouted coldly. Well, load of nonsense. The faces of the quasi-emperors of the Xian Ting twitched. Many of the forces around them did not say anything, but they were secretly communicating with each other through divine consciousness. This was definitely a big piece of news. If the Jun family did not invade Old Man Heaven, perhaps this would be a secret forever. Old Man Heaven looked at Jun Taiwang with a faint smile on his old face. Thank you for giving me the chance to say so much. Old Man Heaven knew that he was severely injured and would definitely die if he fought with Jun Taiwang. There's no need to thank me. Old Man Heaven is destined to be destroyed today. Jun Taiwang was still expressionless. He would not be merciful to Old Man Heaven because of this. After all, Old Man Heaven had assassinated the son of God of the Jun family. This alone was enough to sentence Old Man Heaven to death. You killed too many people and will not have a good ending. This is retribution. If there is such retribution, then the Xian Ting, before Old Man Heaven could finish a sentence. A terrifying divine light that spanned hundreds of millions of miles came from somewhere in the Huntian immortal realm. It tore the sky and earth apart, piercing through the universe and shaking the universe. You slandered the Xian Ting. Die. A voice that sounded like the judgment of a deity rang out. The vast divine light shot directly toward Old Man Heaven. Splat! Blood splattered everywhere. The blood of an emperor splattered everywhere. There seemed to be sad music rising between heaven and earth. Countless divine laws of the great Tao dissipated. A rain of blood fell from the sky. This was the sign of an emperor's fall. My lord, many of the people who were fighting below, including the 5 quasi-emperors, turned pale with fright when they saw this scene. Ha! 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 Old Man Heaven spat out blood and laughed bitterly. His emperor body, which had already been severely injured by Jun Taiwang, was cracking and shattering like cracked porcelain. As a descendant of the Xian Ting assassination organization, Old Man Heaven did not die in the hands of the enemy. Instead, I died in the hands of the Sien Ting. How ironic. It was a loud boom. Old Man Heaven's emperor body collapsed. The vast starry sky seemed to have turned into a realm of nothingness. This scene caused everyone to be speechless. At this moment, the voice rang out again. Old Man Heaven, whose hands are stained with the blood of countless people, has slandered the Sien Ting. The Sien Ting, together with the Jun family, will eradicate this tumor. The Sien Ting also sent out their troops. Millions of celestial soldiers and celestial generals led by several quasi-emperors charged toward Old Man Heaven. Old Man Heaven, which was already on the verge of collapse under the attack of the Jun family, was naturally unable to stop the Sien Ting's army. This was no longer an immortal battle. It was a cruel massacre. The final result was indisputable. Old Man Heaven was completely destroyed. Not a single one was left alive. The Sien Ting's army, in particular, placed great importance on eliminating the root of the problem. They did not let anyone from Old Man Heaven go. This immortal battle finally came to an end. The three great assassins of the Jin dynasty were all wiped out. However, this last immortal battle was beyond everyone's expectations. Who would have thought that the Jun family and the Sien Ting, who were originally at loggerheads with each other, would join forces to destroy Old Man Heaven? However, anyone with a brain would know what the Sien Ting meant. Still, no one dared to gossip about the Sien Ting openly. Trouble comes from the mouth. One wrong word could send one to Old Man Heaven. Chapter 1230. The immortal battle across the immortal realms finally came to an end. No one expected the Jun family to act so decisively. After all, the Jun family was affected by the curse of misfortune. There were even rumors saying that the Jun family could only protect themselves because of the curse of misfortune. They were no longer able to intimidate the others. However, the immortal battle had undoubtedly dispelled this ridiculous rumor. The Jun family was as strong as ever. They were not affected by the curse of misfortune at all. This time, the Jun family did not only want to avenge Jun Xiaoyao. It was also a kind of deterrence that showed the Jun family's boldness and strength. It would be foolish to think that the Jun family could be bullied just because of the curse of misfortune. The Jun family used the immortal battle to strengthen their reputation and status in the Nine Heavens immortal realm. On the other hand, the Sien Ting, the Old Man Heaven's words did cause an uproar in the Nine Heavens immortal realm. However, no one dared to talk about it openly. After all, the Sien Ting was still a formidable force. No one dared to provoke them. However, it was obvious that the immortal realm, the reputation and influence of the Sien Ting in the Nine Heavens immortal realm were affected to a certain extent. It did not mean that the Sien Ting would be despised immediately. However, at least in the eyes of the other forces, the Sien Ting was no longer as glorious and superior as before. After the immortal battle came to an end, the three armies also began to return to the Huangtian immortal realm. However, the attention of many forces did not stop. The reason was simple. Although the three assassins of the Jin dynasty had been eliminated. However, it was worth noting that the real mastermind behind the attack on Jun Xiaoyao was not the three killer dynasties. They were only hired by someone else and were only following orders. Therefore, the mastermind behind the assassination of Jun Xiaoyao was not punished. Of course, everyone knew that. The Jun family was not stupid. They knew who the mastermind was. However, they did not pursue the matter. The reason was simple. It was not the right time for the Jun family to start a full-scale war. It was the same as the Sien Ting's idea. Everyone had a feeling that the real storm, the era of change, was coming. It was not a good thing to consume too much energy before it happened. Besides, the destruction of the three assassin divine dynasties was also a deterrent. At least, no one would dare to be used as a tool to target Jun Xiaoyao in the future. The three divine dynasties of assassins were a bloody example of this. Just when everyone thought that the dust had settled on this storm, a voice suddenly rang out. The shocking news immediately set the entire Nine Heavens immortal realm on fire. A realm experts saw a ray of the immortal realm Oceana beam of sword light shot over, traversing billions of miles across the sky, destroying countless stars along the way. There was a sword within the sword light. It was a sword that was surrounded by endless killing, immortal light. No matter how vast and boundless the universe was, it could not stop the endless sharpness of that sword. Even a wisp of sword light could destroy a star field. Even a boundary emperor would be instantly sliced apart just by getting close to that sword. That is the immortal slaying sword. We're realm experts, realm. Apart from the immortal weapon, the immortal sword, what other weapon could possess such an outstanding aura? A single sword was enough to stir a great storm in the immortal realm. It's really the immortal sword. Is the white-robed, godly emperor back? The crowd immediately recalled the magnificent figure in a white robe when they saw the immortal sword. Jun Xiaoyao did not bring the immortal sword with him when he returned after the War of the Two Realms. It was obvious that the immortal sword was in the hands of the white-robed, godly emperor, Jun Wuhui. And now, the immortal sword had shown up. Did it mean the white-robed, godly emperor had returned to protect his son? However, the crowd was confused. There was no sign of Jun Wuhui. Merely a single immortal extermination sword traversed across the endless sea to arrive, bringing along a myriad of strands of murderous sword light, its might grand, shaking the universe. What does that mean? Many people were confused. The white-robed, godly emperor had not returned, but a sword did. What did that mean? Inside a small world somewhere in the immortal realm, a group of people was gathered in a space. They were members of the three great taboo families. The plan this time was a complete failure. The three great assassins of the Jin dynasty are useless. A mystique, venerable one from the Ji family said coldly. Ji Daoyi, Ji Yingying, and the others from the Ji family had all died directly or indirectly at the hands of Jun Xiaoyao. Man proposes, God disposes. Who would have thought that even the three great boundary emperors could not kill Jun Xiaoyao? How did he survive? A Yu family powerhouse said. Now that the situation is like this, the Jun family is furious, and the three great Jin dynasty has been destroyed. We should return to the nine heavens first and lay low for a while. A hint of worry appeared in the eyes of the Jin family's experts. For some reason, he felt uneasy. When a Yu family's expert heard this, he smiled faintly and shook his head. What's there to worry about? The Jun family only destroyed the three great assassins of the Jin dynasty. This means that they do not dare to provoke the nine heavens forbidden zone. Why should we hide? The Yu family powerhouse did not seem to agree. Not to mention that the three great Jin dynasty did not reveal the buyer. So what if they did? Would the Jun family dare to touch them? If they dared to touch them, they would be provoking the nine heavens forbidden zone. When the other two experts saw this, they also nodded in agreement. That was true. If the Jun family really wanted to make a fuss, they would have pursued the mastermind long ago. They would not have just targeted the three great Jin dynasty. Right at this moment, the small world suddenly trembled and shook violently. It was directly split into two. Who is it? The three great taboo families trembled. Billions of killing sword light bloomed. They were blinded by the dazzling sword light. Then they felt nothing. The three great taboo families were instantly reduced to ashes. After the light faded, the small world was torn into pieces. Only a divine sword that emitted divine light and suppressed the nine heavens floated in the middle. After pausing for a moment, it tore through the air and left. In another realm, there was also a group of people. Their bodies were shrouded in green light and carried a sense of transcendence. They were the servants of Zhou Tiandaozi of the Heaven Tribe. The operation has failed, but that Jun Xiaoyao won't be able to do anything for the time being. That's right, Zhou Tiandaozi doesn't care about Jun Xiaoyao at all. He is the one who is blessed by the heavens. He is destined to dominate the world. The people of the Heaven Tribe smiled and prepared to return to the Heaven Tribe. Meanwhile, a brilliant sword light came from the distance. It crossed billions of li and tore the space apart. The people of the Heaven Tribe did not even have time to react before they were drowned by the sword light. Not long after, a shocking piece of news spread across the nine heavens immortal realm. The Ji clan, Yu clan, and Jin clan, the three great taboo families in the immortal realm, were all wiped out. In addition to that, a group of mysterious people of the Heaven tribe were eliminated too. The entire immortal realm was stirred once again. Everyone thought of that immortal, exterminating sword that tore through the air from the endless sea. Everyone immediately came to a realization. Jun Wuhui did not show up in person. He had crossed billions of li across the realm ocean with the deity execution sword to avenge his son and kill the mastermind. Chapter 1231. What kind of boldness was this? He didn't show up in person, but he threatened everyone with his sword. He killed everyone who threatened Jun Xiaoyao. He didn't even spare the mastermind. He was even more domineering and ruthless than the Jun family. That was Jun Wuhui, the white-robed king of gods. He could shake the entire Nine Heavens immortal realm, even if he didn't show up in person. Di Haoyan's eyes widened when he heard the news. His face turned cold. Jun Wuhui, does he dare to kill me with the deity slaying sword? However, speaking of the devil, he arrived. An immortal sword crossed countless galaxies and arrived at the Huntian immortal realm. It slashed down with a mighty aura. Stop it! A loud voice was heard. It was the emperor of the Xianting. He reached out his hand and clashed with the sword light. A loud explosion spread in all directions. Countless factions were paying close attention to the Huntian immortal realm. Who would have thought that the Jun family's army had just retreated from the Huntian immortal realm? Jun Wuhui's deity slaying sword came to them. Above a galaxy, the third ancestor, Jun Taiwang, shook his head with a wry smile. Everyone says I'm domineering, but I'm still not as good as Wu Hui. As the third ancestor of the Jun family, he had to consider the whole family. He was able to eliminate the Jin dynasty in person because he thought highly of Jun Xiaoyao. However, it was extremely irrational to ask him to lead the Jun family into a full-scale war with the Xianting. Jun Wu Hui didn't. He only knew that his son was bullied, and he had to take revenge. If he couldn't even protect his family, how could he protect the people in the immortal realm? That was Jun Wu Hui's belief. I'm getting old. I'm not as decisive as a junior. Emperor Shinyu shook his head and sighed. In the Huntian immortal realm, a deity slaying sword floated in the vast universe, emitting millions of rays of light. Even the universe was shaking. Although it was only a weapon, it was a truly supreme weapon of slaughter. It even had a deity weapon spirit. His strength was definitely not weaker than a top-notch emperor. Otherwise, how could he seal the ultimate calamity? The immortal slaying sword floated above the Huntian immortal realm. This was a form of silent intimidation. Oh my God, Xianting is one of the masterminds behind this. Seeing this scene, the various forces were all astonished. He never thought that the celestial court would try to do something to Jun Xiaoyao. However, when he thought of Jun Xiaoyao's monstrous talent and his terrifying cultivation speed, he was shocked. It seemed reasonable that Xianting wanted to get rid of this hidden danger. A sigh came from Xianting's side. Then, many balls of light appeared. Among them were all kinds of top-grade immortal medicines. However, the immortal exterminating sword remained indifferent. Soon after, another large piece of resplendent crystal appeared. It was surrounded by primal chaos chi. That's a chaos gem. The eyes of many experts turned red. This was definitely a top-notch treasure material. Regardless of whether it was used for cultivation or forging divine weapons, it was a top-notch material. The immortal exterminating sword was still the same. Then, Xianting took out many supreme treasures and even the divine fruit of life. This was a top-notch healing divine item that was not inferior to the spring of life. The immortal exterminating sword remained motionless. What exactly do you want? This is already the immortal court's concession. Xianting's voice became cold. Then, he came to a realization, finally understanding. A sigh sounded. Hao Tian apologized. This time, you were indeed reckless. In a golden palace, Di Haoyan stepped out. His long golden hair was brilliant, and his silver eyes were like the moon. He looked otherworldly, like a heavenly god. the son of a god. He was expressionless as he looked at the immortal, exterminating sword floating in the vast universe. The fingers in his sleeves slowly clenched. This time, it was indeed Hao Tian's fault. I apologize here. I also hope that young Master Jun can recover soon. After Di Haoyan finished speaking, he was about to turn around and leave. However, a wisp of the immortal exterminating sword's aura suddenly pressed down. Plop! Di Haoyan directly knelt down on one knee. He was kneeling in the direction of the Huangtian mystic realm. In other words, Di Haoyan knelt down on one knee in front of Jun Xiaoyao. Enough, Xianting's emperor also said with displeasure and released a wisp of aura to resist. Di Haoyan immediately stood up. His incomparably handsome face was twitching slightly. The hands in his sleeves were clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His chest rose and fell, and his heart was beating as if it was about to explode. Finally, he took a deep breath, turned around, and returned to the Golden Palace without saying a word. After returning to the palace, Di Haoyan sealed the surrounding space, and his face instantly became twisted and ferocious. Damn it, Jun Wuhui! I, Di Haoyan, was born to be a king, destined to rule this great world. How dare you force me to kneel? Jun Wuhui, Jun Xiaoyao, and the Jun family, I, Di Haoyan, want you to never be reincarnated. Di Haoyan roared furiously, and his blonde hair danced wildly. He had completely lost his composure. He had completely lost his composure and demeanor of a banished immortal. One had to know that he was proud. Even when facing the mysterious little demon empress, he was neither servile nor overbearing and had no intention of pleasing her. As the ancient young emperor of Xianting, he had the memory of reincarnation. In this great world, he was supposed to rule over everything step by step. But now he was forced to kneel. To Di Haoyan, this was more painful than death. This was a humiliation that could never be erased. Even if he became an immortal in the future, this would be a stain and humiliation that could never be erased. Golden divine energy vibrated, and the power of laws surged. The entire Golden Palace was riddled with holes. In the end, Di Haoyan breathed heavily, and his chest rose and fell. After venting his anger, he temporarily calmed down. I, Di Haoyan, swear to the heavens. Jun Wuhui, Jun Xiaoyao, one day, I will make you kneel in front of me too. The immortal slaying sword finally left the chaotic sky immortal realm. The resources that the Xianting compensated were naturally accepted by the Jun family and handed over to Jun Xiaoyao. Looks like the mastermind behind this is clear. It's the taboo family of the Nine Heavens, the Grey Clan, and the Xianting's Di Haoyan. The immortal slaying sword intimidation undoubtedly made everyone understand the ins and outs of this entire scheme. And just when everyone thought that the immortal slaying sword was going to return, a surprising scene appeared once again. The immortal slaying sword flashed into the well of heaven ascension. It was going to the Nine Heavens. For a moment, the entire immortal realm was dead silent. This was really amazing. The Nine Heavens was a transcendent place where forbidden areas stood. The immortal slaying sword flashed with immortal light. This is the Nine Heavens. It's not a place where you can be presumptuous. A cold snort suddenly came from the Saint Spirit ruins of the 10 great forbidden areas. It was a forbidden area where an ancient Saint Spirit was sleeping. A huge hand flashing with endless radiance of the great Tao grabbed the immortal slaying sword. It actually wanted to capture and suppress it. The immortal slaying sword vibrated, and a rain of light fell. A hazy human figure appeared. It was the immortal slaying sword's spirit. The immortal slaying sword's spirit pointed a finger, and the sword radiance was thousands of feet long. It crossed the sky and directly cut off the huge hand that was flashing with endless flames. Then, the immortal slaying sword's spirit activated the immortal slaying sword. 3 sword slashes. 1 sword fell on the Ji family's land. 1 sword fell on the Jin family's land. 1 sword fell on the Yu family's land. Boom! 3 loud sounds were heard. The three taboo families were caught off guard and immediately suffered heavy losses. Many screams and cries were heard, and there were countless casualties. In the taboo families, there was an emperor's aura that emitted a cold and furious aura. However, they did not dare to attack the immortal slaying sword recklessly. They are indeed in the wrong this time. Enough is enough. A faint voice came from the immortal mausoleum. The immortal slaying sword floated in the 9 heavens with a brilliant glow. It was like a living immortal had descended upon the world, with a strong, murderous, immortal glow. As the news spread to the immortal realm, the experts of many factions were left speechless. They were completely dumbfounded. Holy crap, the godly emperor is so impressive. He managed to suppress the 9 heavens with just an immortal sword. Damn it, if I had such a powerful father, I would be smiling even in my dreams. Come on, the son of God of the June family is nothing compared to the son of God of the June family. Countless discussions rang out, and all of them were filled with astonishment. Without a doubt, the name of the white-robed, godly emperor had spread across the 9 heavens immortal realm once again, shocking the 9 heavens with an immortal sword. It was the legend of the godly emperor. Chapter 1232. Although the 9 heavens were not the upper realms of the immortal region, however, in the eyes of many immortal domain creatures, the 9 heavens always felt like they were a bit more transcendent than a mortal domain high up above. Otherwise, the taboo clan would not be so arrogant when they came to the immortal domain. They would not treat the living beings of the immortal domain with a superior attitude. In fact, there were many geniuses in the immortal realms who dreamed of entering the 9 heavens to cultivate. It was as if the 9 heavens were more noble than the immortal domain. But now, Jun Wuhui used the immortal slaying sword to suppress the entire 9 heavens, directly attacking the 3 great taboo clans. This powerful scene not only shocked everyone, but also shocked everyone. This caused the hearts of many immortal region cultivators to surge, and they felt as if their blood was about to boil. Did you see that? So what if it's the 9 heavens? How noble can it be compared to my immortal domain? That's right, in front of the white-robed God King, the 9 heavens are nothing more than this. An immortal sword shook the 9 heavens. How heroic! The 9 heavens aren't the upper world of our immortal realms. There's no need to look up to them. The immortal slaying sword appeared to avenge Jun Xiaoyao. As a result, the celestial region's confidence was boosted. So what if it was the 9 heavens? Wouldn't they still be intimidated by their immortal region's white-robed God King? Haha, good, very good. On the 9 heavens Immortal Academy's side, the great elder of the Immortal Academy who had just returned from the battle of the Immortal Academy cheered when he heard the news. Some time ago, he saw many geniuses of the immortal realms yearning to enter the 9 heavens. He did not even hesitate to beg the members of the forbidden clans to humble themselves. Immortal Academy's great elder felt great pain. The 9 heavens were the source of the chaos. There were so many seniors in the immortal realm, such as the Desolate Emperor, the Endless Immortal Emperor, and the Ancient Chaos Immortal Emperor. But now, the juniors of the immortal realms actually yearned for the 9 heavens so much. It had to be said that this was heartbreaking. But now, the white-robed God King Jun Wuhui had used his actions to prove it. The 9 heavens were nothing more than this. Like father, like son. When he thought about how Jun Xiaoyao also had an expression of indifference towards the 9 heavens, Immortal Academy's great elder couldn't help but reveal a smile. He had a vague feeling. If there was really the most terrifying turmoil in history in this world, then this pair of father and son would become heroes on the same level as Desolate Emperor, Ancient Chaos, and without end. Everyone continued to pay attention to the news of the 9 heavens. However, after he attacked the 3 forbidden clans, just like that, the immortal slaying sword floated above the 9 heavens, motionless like an eternal blazing sun. What is the meaning of this? An indifferent voice rang out from a certain forbidden area. Do you still not understand? This is a silent threat to the 9 heavens. If anyone dares to make a move against his children, they will have to bear the consequences. A cold laugh could be heard in another forbidden area. Haha, Jun Wuhui, what a Jun Wuhui. You haven't even proven your Tao, yet you're already so arrogant. An ethereal voice also came from the immortal mausoleum. Even though he is yet to prove his Tao, he possesses the fighting strength of an emperor. After awakening the absolute beginning divine king body, he can even fight against the calamity. He is indeed a rare monster. If he proves his Tao, he should be able to ascend to the myriad era emperor rankings. Doesn't that mean that he will become an obstacle? Ha! If the real purge begins, a mere white-robed divine king won't be able to stop it. But for now, it's best not to cause too much trouble. After all, the ancestors are still in hibernation, waiting for the time to ascend. He's just a junior from the Jun family. Does he really think that we'll be so free as to make a move against an ant? However, he can become a whetstone for the children of our forbidden areas. A cold laugh could be heard in the Saint Spirit ruins. The immortal slaying sword's deterrence only meant that they couldn't bully the weak. It didn't mean that even those of the same generation couldn't make a move against Jun Xiaoyao. Not long after, a chuckle with a transcendent intent could be heard in the Saint Spirit ruins. Seniors, don't worry. If Jun Xiaoyao really dares to come to the Nine Heavens, I will let him know what it means to be a frog at the bottom of a well. These were the bold words of a prince from Forbidden Area in the Saint Spirit ruins. After 7 days, the immortal slaying sword finally left the Nine Heavens. Although this was a rarely seen killing immortal artifact, no one made a move to suppress and refine it. Because even if it could be suppressed, this was the Jun family's immortal artifact. The Jun family obviously wouldn't let the immortal slaying sword stay in the Nine Heavens. The significance of the immortal slaying 4 swords to the Jun family was equivalent to the celestial emperor's throne of Xian Ting and the 10 Yama Kings of Hell. Now, even the Nine Heavens forbidden areas didn't want to cause more trouble, let alone provoke the Jun family. After the immortal slaying sword returned to the immortal domain, it flew back to the endless sea. Along the way, all the people who saw that wisp of sword light had a look of reverence in their eyes. Who could rely on an immortal artifact to shock the Nine Heavens without showing up? Only the Divine King had no regrets. Of course, there were also some people who were more rational. They also knew that the real big shot in the Nine Heavens forbidden areas had yet to awaken. Therefore, the life forbidden areas didn't want to make a big fuss right now. Otherwise, wanting to shock the entire Nine Heavens forbidden areas by relying on an immortal slaying sword was indeed not quite possible. But no matter what, Jun Wuhui's move undoubtedly strengthened the immortal domain's momentum. At this point, the great storm regarding Jun Xiaoyao's assassination was considered to have completely ended. The 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty, except for that Lord of Blood Pagoda, were all annihilated. Not a single one left. The masterminds behind the 3 great forbidden families, the people of the lower realm, were wiped out. Even the ancestral land of the family also suffered heavy losses, with countless casualties. The group of people from the Heaven Clan was also beheaded, and the Heaven Clan did not state their position. But clearly this score, they noted it down. The Xianting compensated a lot of rare resources. Di Haoyan even knelt down. All the people who made a move against Jun Xiaoyao paid a huge price. This was also the Jun family's attitude. In a fight between peers, the Jun family would not intervene in the slightest. But if someone wanted to be shameless and play dirty, then the Jun family would also let them understand what was called dignity. After this storm ended, there were also many people who reacted, although revenge was revenge. But Jun Xiaoyao suffered heavy injuries after all, his Tao foundation damaged. Even with all kinds of rare resources to heal, it would be difficult for him to fight again in a short period of time. This was undoubtedly disadvantageous for Jun Xiaoyao. Some of Jun Xiaoyao's enemies and opponents were secretly delighted, although it was a pity that Jun Xiaoyao didn't die. But in this situation, it was not an exaggeration to say that he was half crippled. In this world of great competition, time and opportunity were what they fought for, and Jun Xiaoyao would undoubtedly miss it, just as many cultivators of the immortal realm were still thinking about the previous storm. In the Huntian immortal realm, news of the Chaos Demon planet's abnormal movement spread. Some people said that the Forgotten Kingdom was about to open. Unfortunately, the Xianting had already sealed off the entire Huntian immortal realm. Except for the 9 great immortal heritages of the Xianting, all the other forces and experts were not allowed to enter the Forgotten Kingdom. Such a domineering action undoubtedly made many people angry. Although the Forgotten Kingdom was extremely dangerous, there were also countless opportunities. Otherwise, it would not have attracted the attention of everyone. But they were also powerless. If the Xianting wanted to monopolize the Forgotten Kingdom, except for a few forces, the other forces were not even qualified to negotiate. But to everyone's disappointment, the few forces in the immortal realm that could confront the Xianting directly did not make a move. The Jun family's battle of the immortals had just ended, and they would not make any moves in a short period of time. The underworld had been lurking under the water, silent. As for the Archean royalty, the Holy Spirit clan, the Western sect, the Saint sect, and other forces, they were all waiting to see what the Xianting did. After that, the Xianting finally released news. The geniuses of the 9 great immortal heritages of the Xianting had the opportunity to choose their companions. In other words, as long as they were chosen by the Xianting, they would be qualified to explore the Forgotten Kingdom with them. For a time, the entire immortal realm became active. Some of the descendants of the clan of the ancients, the descendants of the Archean royalty, the descendants of the imperishable sects, and the disciples of the hidden ancient clans. They all relied on their connections to get the opportunity to enter the Forgotten Kingdom with the geniuses of the Xianting. Because some time ago, a group of geniuses had already entered the 9 heavens. If they did not compete for the opportunities in the Forgotten Kingdom, then they would really fall behind others. Chapter 1233. Under these circumstances, the geniuses of the Xianting's 9 great immortal heritages were undoubtedly the center of attention. Regardless of whether they were the current heirs of the 9 great immortal heritages or the awakened seeds, they all received the attention of various factions. The most popular of them all, of course, they were Di Haoyan and Ling Yan. One was the young emperor of the Xianting, while the other was the young emperor of the present age. Both of them had quite a few followers. Even Gu Tizi, who'd been on par with Ling Yan before, was no longer as famous as before. However, what was unexpected was that Ling Yan couldn't be bothered to meet anyone who came to pay her a visit. Chaotic Heaven's immortal domain, in a certain palace of Empress, was immortal heritage. Ling Yan, who was tall and slender, was dressed in a long, snow-white dress. Her features were exquisite beyond compare, and she seemed to be arguing with someone. Ever since Mars appeared, Ling Yan had left Immortal Academy and stayed in Empress was Immortal Heritage's palace. Granny Lan, I don't even have the freedom to go out. Ling Yan's tone was no longer as aloof and domineering as it was outside. Sitting across from her was a quasi-emperor, ancient ancestor of Empress was Immortal Heritage, Granny Lan, who taught her cultivation since she was a child. Granny Lan had a head of silver hair. Her face wasn't that old, and her skin was as smooth as a baby's. She looked at Ling Yan and smiled faintly. Yuan, do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Don't tell me you're thinking of visiting Jun Xiaoyao. And no, I've only been cultivating for a long time and want to go out for a walk. Ling Yan stammered. In the outside world, she was the cold and aloof princess of the Xianting, the young emperor of the present age. But in front of Granny Lan, who'd taught her since she was a child, she was like an ordinary young girl. Yuana, you're still as bad at lying as ever. Granny Lan shook her head and continued. But it's better to keep a distance. After all, you're the young emperor of the Xianting. Ling Yan bit her lip and said nothing. To be honest, when he heard that Jun Xiaoyao had been assassinated by 3 quasi-emperors of the Jin dynasty, he was shocked. Her heart seemed to stop for a moment. When she heard that Jun Xiaoyao had survived, she heaved a sigh of relief. But later, he heard that Jun Xiaoyao had been seriously injured. His Taoist foundation had been damaged, and he was almost crippled. It was even possible that he wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time, and could only recuperate in the Jun family. Ling Yin felt an inexplicable worry. She knew that although Jun Xiaoyao looked calm and reserved on the surface, he was actually a man of few words. But deep down, he was an incomparably proud person. This sort of arrogance did not have a negative connotation. Instead, it was an innate confidence. Ordinary geniuses would not be able to withstand such a blow, not to mention a monstrous genius like him who had never been seen before. Therefore, Ling Yin was worried and wanted to take a look. I really don't know what kind of bewitching potion that kid from the Jun family gave you. You're the young emperor of the Xianting. Granny Lan held her forehead and sighed. Ling Yin just remained silent. To be honest, she was also a little absent-minded. In the beginning, she and Jun Xiaoyao were absolute enemies. She was also one of the 7 rebellious emperors. She was always thinking about how to deal with him. But in the Black Abyss, she fell in love with Jun Xiaoyao. Everything seemed to have changed. On the inside of her thigh, there was a mark left by Jun Xiaoyao. In the world of the ruins of God, she and Jun Xiaoyao fell in love. Jun Xiaoyao was not affected, but she took off her clothes. For the first time in her life, she was seen naked by a man. After that, Fairy Yuan sacrificed herself and loved Jun Xiaoyao so deeply that her soul merged with his. Later, Ling Yin forced herself to find an excuse. It was because Fairy Maiden Yuan's soul was melded with hers that she developed special feelings for Jun Xiaoyao. But now, to be honest, Ling Yin felt that this excuse was ridiculous. Fairy Yuan might have had an impact, but it was absolutely impossible for her to change her mind immediately. After a long time of contact and getting along, Ling Yin unknowingly fell. This was perhaps something she did not expect. Granny Lan naturally did not know about Ling Yan's inner thoughts. She just said, "This forgotten kingdom is extremely important, even related to the future of the Xianting." Ling Yin sobered up and looked at Granny Lan. Granny Lan continued, "In fact, in the beginning, my Empress' immortal lineage wanted to cooperate with Fushi's immortal lineage and jointly rule. That's why I wanted you to marry Gutizi. But then it failed, and now Di Hao Ian has appeared again. His ambition is known throughout the Xianting. He wants to become the master of this golden age of Xianting. And that position was originally yours, Yuan. Therefore, our Empress' immortal lineage also needs to change our mindset. And the Forgotten Kingdom is our only chance." Granny Lan's words puzzled Ling Yin. Granny Lan, although there are ancient Xianting ruins in the Forgotten Kingdom, it shouldn't be enough to determine the future of the Xianting, right? Granny Lan looked at Ling Yin and smiled. But that smile made Ling Yin feel a sense of unfamiliarity. "Yuan, you are the hope of our Empress' immortal lineage, the only core genius nurtured by the entire immortal lineage. Haven't you always wondered about the origin of your 2 souls? Perhaps you can find the answer in the Forgotten Kingdom." Granny Lan's words shook Ling Yan's eyes. Could there be other secrets to her 2 souls in one body? After returning to her chambers, Ling Yin remained in a daze. She was thinking. She didn't know why, but she felt like she was a delicate marionette. There seemed to be a pair of invisible hands behind her, controlling her fate, just like how she controlled Fairy Yuan's fate. The more she thought about it, the more irritable Ling Yin became. In addition, she couldn't leave the Huntian immortal realm to see Jun Xiaoyao. This made her feel even more restless and uneasy. Right at this moment, a beautiful maid with 2 buns on her head came in to report to him. It was Ling Yan's maid, Sakura. "Someone outside wants to see the Empress." Hearing this, Ling Yuan frowned slightly and said no. During this time, there had been people who wanted to visit her. Young masters of ancient clans, godson of imperishable sects, heirs of hidden ancient clans, and so on. They wanted to be her entourage and be able to enter the Forgotten Kingdom with her. As for why Ling Yin was so popular, the reason was simple. Besides Ling Yin, who had many entourage spots, she was also the young empress of the Xianting. Traveling with her would undoubtedly increase one's sense of security. Moreover, Ling Yin was a famous beauty in the immortal realm. Who wouldn't want to travel with a beauty? What's more, she was a beauty with power and influence. If there were any sparks, it would definitely be a huge gain. More importantly, although there were rumors that Ling Yuan and Jun Xiaoyao seemed to have an unusual relationship, Ling Yuan was not the only one. However, Jun Xiaoyao was seriously injured and recuperating in the Jun family. It was impossible for him to come. Even if he came, the Xianting would not allow him to enter the Forgotten Kingdom. Therefore, this was undoubtedly a good opportunity to poach him. As the saying goes, although a famous flower is taken, I will loosen the soil. As long as the hoe was swung well, there was no corner that couldn't be dug down. Therefore, many heroes and young masters of the immortal realm flocked to Ling Yin like bees and butterflies attracted by the fragrance of flowers. Of course, Ling Yin couldn't even be bothered to meet them and rejected them all. Now, after hearing the news that Jun Xiaoyao was seriously injured, she was inexplicably irritated. How could she be in a mood to meet those young masters? But Sakura hesitated for a moment and then said, "That person said that it's fine if you don't go, as long as you don't regret it." Regret? When Ling Yin heard this, she was so angry that she laughed. These days, there were really all kinds of people. Previously, there was a young master of a major power who directly knelt in front of the palace gate for 7 days and 7 nights, begging to go with her. If you want to rely on acting domineering to attract my attention, you are a bit ignorant and laughable. Ling Yin smiled coldly, but she still slowly got up. Naturally, it was not because she was attracted, nor was it because she was curious. It was just that she was in a bad mood and needed a punching bag. That person had bumped into her muzzle. Chapter 1234. At this moment, outside Empress was immortal orthodoxy. A large number of people were looking forward to it. They were all young talents who came to see Ling Yin. Among them were some people with high status. Every one of them would attract attention and cause a commotion. But now, they were like a swarm of bees and butterflies surrounding the place. The reason was simple. They all wanted to get a spot to enter the Forgotten Nation and travel with Ling Yin. The Forgotten Nation, one of the 7 incredible worlds, was dangerous, but there were also countless opportunities in it. Aside from the opportunities of the ancient Xianting, there were also various treasures and inheritances. Plus, Ling Yin was a great beauty. If he were to accidentally capture her heart during the journey, then he would have profited greatly. They would become the prince consort of the Xianting. In the future, they could even become a big shot in the Xianting. They would definitely soar to the sky. It was precisely because they harbored such expectations that many young geniuses had raised their heads in anticipation. There were even young talents who knelt in front of the palace gate for 7 days and 7 nights to express their sincerity to Ling Yin. Unfortunately, Ling Yin did not show up during this time. At this moment in the crowd, a black-robed man stood there calmly. His head was covered with a hood, making it impossible to see his face. He was different from the other young talents who were looking forward to it, nervous and uneasy. He looked very calm and composed. At this moment, there was another commotion in the crowd. "Oh my God, another son of the clan of the Ancients is here. How are they going to compete for the spots?" Previously, a seed of the Qin clan of the Ancients came. Now, a son of the Lu clan of the Ancients is here. Is that young master Lu Fuguwei? He is the son of the emperor of heavenly works of the Lu clan. He is the young master of the Lu clan. But I heard that he is lazy, foppish, and has 300 wives and concubines. As the crowd's discussion spread out, many people looked in the same direction. They saw 4 beautiful women carrying a dragon carriage. Sitting on top of it was a chubby man dressed in a golden robe who looked like a ball of dough. He ate the spirit fruit while picking his teeth with a toothpick. To everyone's surprise, the toothpick was actually a Boundary Emperor weapon. TSK, as expected of the Lu clan of the Desolate Land, equally famous as the Gongshu clan, Mo clan, and other powers, the strongest blacksmith clan in our immortal domain. When the surrounding young elites saw this scene, they couldn't help but click their tongues. The Lu clan of the Ancients was not considered to be one of the top clans in the immortal realm. If the Jun family was said to be the head of the clan of the Ancients in the immortal realm, then the Lu family could only be ranked in the middle. However, Their reputation was not weak. Although they were not as powerful as the June family, they were still far more powerful than the other clans of the ancients. The reason was very simple. It was because the Liu family was a family of blacksmiths. It was rumored that the ancestors of the Liu family had once forged a pseudo-immortal weapon. Most of the immortal weapons in the Nine Heavens immortal realm had been left behind since ancient times. No one was able to forge new immortal weapons. Even if it was a pseudo-immortal weapon, it was not something that an ordinary person could forge. As for Liu Fugui's father, the Heavenly Works Emperor, he was also a figure of the immortal domain. In terms of strength, he was not considered to be one of the strongest among the martial monarchs, but his forging skills were one of the best. Many martial monarchs had even asked him to forge monarch weapons and other weapons, thus they owed him a favor. It was the main reason why the Liu clan was so influential, because even the Liu family didn't know exactly how many forces and experts owed them favors. Besides, the Liu clan's forging skills were worthy of being recruited and fawned upon by the other factions. Liu Fugui was the son of the Heavenly Works Emperor and a young master of the Liu clan. No one dared to offend him. That being said, he did not have a good reputation. He was lazy, greedy, and lecherous. He had even tried to kidnap a saintess, but no one dared to pursue the matter because of his background. Damn it, he already has 300 wives and concubines, and he still dares to compete with us. Some of the young elites were wearing unpleasant looks, even though Liu Fugui's appearance was unlikely to catch Ling Yan's attention. However, even if he managed to secure a spot, it would mean one less opportunity for the others. What? Do you want me to do it? The young master of the Liu clan, Liu Fugui, seemed to have heard the discussions around him. He picked his teeth and said nonchalantly, "No, of course not." Everyone backed away, not wanting to offend this young master. However, only a black-robed figure remained in place. It was as if he did not notice the young master of the Liu clan at all. Liu Fugui squinted his fat eyes and looked at the black-robed man. That was because he had a bad reputation. Therefore, many people stayed away from him. Everyone backed away, but the black-robed man did not move at all, as if he did not care about him at all. This made Liu Fugui a little curious. He said lazily, "Brother, are you also here to see young Emperor Ling Yan?" The black-robed man seemed to have just noticed Liu Fugui. He said nonchalantly, "Wrong. I'm not here to see her. I'm here to see her." Oh, Liu Fugui was stunned, then couldn't help but laugh. "Ha ha, brother, do you think young Emperor Ling Yan will be curious about you and give you a spot because you're dressed in black and acting mysterious? Save it, brother. Did you see that young master of a hidden ancient family kneeling there for 7 days and 7 nights? But he still hasn't seen young Emperor Ling Yan, and that one came half a month in advance. He even drew a portrait of young Emperor Ling Yan, but he still hasn't shown up." Liu Fugui really wanted to laugh. Even if he came here, he could only rely on his wealth and power to get a spot in the immortal lineage of Empress Hua. How could this black-robed man make Ling Yan come to see him? "Brother, I thought I was good at bragging. I didn't expect you to be better than me. However, if you're the son of God of the June family, then it's possible." Liu Fugui laughed. Of course, everyone knew that he was joking. The son of God of the June family was still recuperating in the ancestral land of the June family. It would take a few years for him to recover. The black-robed man said calmly, "She will see me." Liu Fugui saw this and shook his head with a smile. Sigh, another one with delusional disorder. Then Liu Fugui stopped paying attention to the black-robed man. Suddenly, the gate of the palace opened. A tall, glamorous woman walked out calmly. Countless flowers of the great path and the trajectory of the stars appeared. The beautiful and noble young emperor of the Xian Ting finally appeared in front of everyone for the first time. Suddenly, the place was in an uproar. Many young masters of the major forces had waited for a long time just to see Ling Yan. F***CK, it's Alcoa. On the carriage, Liu Fugui completely lost his composure and stared blankly. His eyes, which were only a slit, widened to the size of a walnut. It was hard for him. Even though he had 300 beautiful wives and concubines, compared to the beautiful Ling Yan in front of him. No, there was no comparison at all. How could a phoenix in the sky be compared to a flock of hens on the ground? Chapter 1235. My 300 wives and concubines are all as beautiful as flowers. They are either daughters of noble families or saintesses of ancient clans. None of them can compare to young Emperor Ling Yan. They can't even compare to one of her fingers. Lu Fugue sighed. Of course, he could only look at it for a bit. Although Lu Fugue was a playboy and a pervert, he still knew his limits. Ling Yuan was not an ordinary saintess, nor was she in existence that he could fantasize about, even if he was the young master of the Lu family, unless he was at the level of the son of God of the Jun family. But was he? Lu Fugue also knew that, apart from his appearance, he could not compare to one of the son of God of the Jun family in any other aspect. Even in forging, Lu Fugue felt that, as long as the son of God of the Jun family was willing to learn a little, his forging skills would definitely be many times better than his. Therefore, there was no need to think about this young Emperor Ling Yan. He could only look. Facing the countless burning gazes, Ling Yan frowned slightly, even though she was already used to it. She did not like such passionate gazes. Young Emperor Ling Yan, I am the saint of the Starry Sword Pavilion. I hope to travel with you. Young Emperor Ling Yan, I am the chief disciple of the Nine Profound Sect. I am willing to escort you. Young Emperor, I am Chu Xingyun of the Chu family. Many young geniuses stepped forward to recommend themselves. Ling Yan looked indifferent. After a glance, she immediately locked her eyes on the black-robed man standing in the crowd. Are you the one who said that you will regret it if I don't meet you? Ling Yan looked at the black-robed man and said coldly. The black-robed man did not comment. Come in with me. Ling Yan turned around and went back to the palace. She did not want to show her violent side in public. It would damage her demeanor as a Xian Ting young emperor. The black-robed man was also careless. In other words, he did not care at all and directly went in. Damn, did it really work? Lu Fugue was dumbfounded. Just now, he was mocking her for trying to attract Ling Yan with this kind of little trick. She must be dreaming, and now he had really succeeded. The crowd was tongue-tied and petrified. There were also many people who were jealous. That was because the black-robed man was the only one that Ling Yan had met alone during this period of time. But soon, someone understood what was going on and sneered. Look, that black-robed man dares to play tricks on young Emperor Ling Yan. Let's see how he'll be thrown out. Maybe he will be crippled by young Emperor Ling Yan. Indeed, I heard that young Emperor Ling Yan hasn't been in a good mood recently. This was human nature. Compared to not being able to obtain it himself, it was more unbearable for someone else to obtain it. Everyone was waiting to watch the show. Inside the palace, there were only Ling Yan and the black-robed man. Even Sakura retreated, because he didn't want to see the black-robed man's miserable state. Sigh. Of all times, he chose this time to provoke Her Highness. Sakura sighed in her heart, observed a moment of silence for the black-robed man, and then retreated. Ling Yan clasped her hands behind her back and looked at the black-robed man with a cold expression. You're very unlucky because you bumped into me when I was in a bad mood. Given her character, she wouldn't directly torture the black-robed man in front of her to death. However, it was still okay to teach him a lesson. It could also be considered as a way to vent the depression in her heart. At this moment, the black-robed man suddenly chuckled. Ling Yan, are you on your period? Why are you so anxious? Hearing this somewhat familiar voice, Ling Yan's originally incomparably cold, pretty face was immediately filled with astonishment. She even ignored the fact that he had teased her about her period. At her cultivation level, her physical body was perfect and flawless. How could she be on her period? The black-robed man pulled down his hood and took off his black robe. It was still the same flawless white robe that was whiter than snow. His handsome facial features were shrouded in a hazy radiance. His divine appearance was elegant, handsome, and meaningful. His slender figure was as straight as bamboo. As usual, he was as elegant as the wind, like a banished immortal riding the wind. Who else could it be if not Jun Xiaoyao? Jun Xiaoyao. How is this possible? Ling Yan was stunned, and for a moment, her mind went blank. For a moment, she even suspected that someone had disguised himself as Jun Xiaoyao through illusion or disguise. But in the next moment, she denied this idea. Not to mention that Jun Xiaoyao's appearance was so handsome that it was difficult to imitate. Even if someone could just barely imitate Jun Xiaoyao's appearance, it would be impossible. However, that kind of otherworldly and aloof temperament was not something that could be easily imitated. Therefore, she was certain that the person in front of her was Jun Xiaoyao. However, wasn't Jun Xiaoyao seriously injured and recuperating in the Jun family? How could he appear in Xianting and stand in front of her? Seeing Ling Yan's repeatedly changing expression of astonishment, Jun Xiaoyao felt a little funny. What, don't you want to see me? Then I'll leave? Wait. Ling Yan bit her lip and couldn't help but speak. At this moment, she was no longer as cold and indifferent as before. She was simply like a little girl who was worried about personal gains and losses. If Lu Fugui and the others outside the palace saw this, their eyes would definitely pop out. Was this still the cold and elegant young Empress Ling Yan? What's going on? It's indeed you, but it can't be. Ling Yan was a little confused. It's a long story, but it's also very simple. Jun Xiaoyao smiled faintly. Could it be that the 3 assassins of the Jin dynasty were besieging your Dharmakaya? No, they wouldn't be so stupid. Ling Yan thought for a moment and directly rejected this idea. If the 3 assassins of the Jin dynasty were really besieging Jun Xiaoyao's Dharmakaya, then they were too unprofessional and unworthy of their reputation as assassins of the Jin dynasty. They were indeed besieging my Dharmakaya, Jun Xiaoyao said truthfully. Then you're a Dharmakaya now? Ling Yan guessed again, but she also felt that something was wrong, because the faint, oppressive aura of Jun Xiaoyao in front of her made her feel a little depressed. No matter how strong Jun Xiaoyao was, the aura of a Dharmakaya couldn't possibly suppress her. The current me is also the Dharmakaya. Jun Xiaoyao smiled faintly, but Ling Yan was speechless for a moment. Who said that you can only have one Dharmakaya? Jun Xiaoyao said with a smile. There's no harm in telling you the truth. I've cultivated the 3 pure ones with one breath. The strength of my doppelganger and Dharmakaya is not much different. Or in other words, there's no difference between the Dharmakaya and the doppelganger. The 3 of them are one, and they are all me, Jun Xiaoyao said. Only then did Ling Yuan come to a realization. The 3 pure ones with one breath was the ultimate skill of the white-robed king of gods, Jun Wuhui, and it was extremely difficult to cultivate. Even if others obtained it, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to cultivate a doppelganger with the same strength as the Dharmakaya. But for the peerless genius Jun Xiaoyao, it didn't seem to be a difficult task. But I don't feel the aura of the primal chaos on you. Ling Yan was still puzzled. If Jun Xiaoyao was also the Dharmakaya in front of her, then why didn't he have the primal chaos aura unique to the primal chaos constitution? Jun Xiaoyao sighed with a smile and slowly raised his hand. Suddenly, a vast aura of qi and the light of the great path burst forth at the same time, reflecting each other's brilliance. The entire palace was dazzling. Of course, this was Ling Yan's palace. It was engraved with an isolation array, so the outside world couldn't pry into it. No one dared to casually use their divine consciousness to probe Ling Yan's palace. Ling Yan's eyes widened when she saw this scene. She almost stopped breathing. She felt an extremely powerful pressure. The Khanate sage, Constitution, Tao, Fetus. Ling Yan couldn't help but cry out. How did Jun Xiaoyao suddenly possess such an unparalleled and invincible constitution? Chapter 1236. Ling Yan felt a little dizzy, and her crystal-clear pupils were shaking. The innate sacred body was one of the most powerful physiques. Since ancient times, those who had such a physique were all peerless powerhouses who stood at the top of the world and fought until heaven and earth lost their voices. Let's not talk about those from ancient times. The closest one was Emperor without end. With his own strength, he carried the coffin to the 9 heavens and intimidated the 9 heavens forbidden zone. He even set up the endless killing formation to stop the powerhouses of the forbidden zones from descending and quell the turmoil of the world. Such an ancient hero was still spreading his name in the mystic realm. Some people also wondered why there was no innate sacred body in this golden era. This was very surprising. This golden era was supposed to be a stage for all kinds of forbidden physiques to compete for hegemony. There was even news about the chaotic physique, but there was no news about the innate sacred body. Now, Ling Yin understood. It was not that there was no innate sacred body in this era. It was that the candidate for the innate sacred body was too well hidden. No one could have guessed it. However, after sensing for a while, Ling Yan's eyes showed a hint of doubt. No, that's not right. Although it's the innate sacred body, it feels like it's missing a kind of perfection. Jun Xiaoyao did not mind being seen through by Ling Yan. He smiled faintly and said, "Yes, I can't be called a real innate sacred body now. Strictly speaking, it should be a quasi-innate sacred body, or an acquired sacred body." Jun Xiaoyao's words surprised Ling Yan again. She couldn't help but be curious and asked, "You only had the sacred body of the ancients before. It collapsed in the world of the ruins of God because you sealed the evil thoughts of the gods." "Yes, but no one knew that my sacred body was restored later." Ling Yan was speechless. Jun Xiaoyao hit it too well. When he returned, he only showed his chaotic physique. Everyone thought that his original sacred body had been destroyed, and only the chaotic green lotus physique that he obtained after inheriting Emperor Qing's legacy was left. "Then you should have the sacred body of the ancients, but now," Jun Xiaoyao said casually, "because of some special opportunities, I obtained the substance of the Great Path, which allowed my saintly body to evolve to the extreme, reaching the level of an acquired saintly body of Tao." Naturally, he couldn't say that he had obtained the origin source of the Tao after signing in and cultivating the acquired sacred body. "Did you already foresee that the 3 assassins of the Jin dynasty would encircle and annihilate us?" Ling Yan asked. Jun Xiaoyao smiled faintly. "Actually, when I returned to the Huangtian immortal realm from the Immortal Academy, I only had the chaotic body. Meanwhile, the sacred body Tao core has always been in seclusion in the depths of Immortal Academy, not letting anyone know about it. It's like a cicada shedding its carapace. I think that after I deal with the 9 Heavens Taboo clan, my battle prowess will make my enemies wary. They want to secretly stifle my growth, but to be honest, this is exactly what I want. Even if they don't make a move, I will create the illusion that someone did. So I'm very happy that the 3 assassins of the Jin dynasty would come to encircle and annihilate me." A faint smile appeared on Jun Xiaoyao's handsome face. Ling Yan, on the other hand, felt a slight chill all over his body. Jun Xiaoyao was too terrifying. That kind of control that was as clear as fire, as well as monstrous intelligence. He even beat them at their own game. The enemy's assassination plot had instead helped him achieve his goal. This kind of courage was simply shocking. Ling Yan was also very smart. He vaguely guessed what Jun Xiaoyao's goal was. "Then you're willing to sacrifice your chaotic body for this goal?" Ling Yan was puzzled. Now, there was news that Jun Xiaoyao's chaotic body had been severely damaged, and even his Tao foundation had been damaged. He wouldn't be able to recover without a few decades of treatment. Jun Xiaoyao's chaotic green lotus physique was actually not much different from the real chaotic body. Jun Xiaoyao dared to gamble with such a rare and powerful physique. Jun Xiaoyao shook his head and laughed. "After all, even I didn't expect that the quasi-emperor of heaven would fight so hard that he even self-destructed his imperial weapon. But it's too much to say that my Tao foundation was damaged. I should be fine after a few months of treatment. Also, only when the news of my serious injuries spread will others think that my threat has been greatly reduced and that I have been recovering in the Jun family." Jun Xiaoyao's words made Ling Yan speechless. He had really planned it all out in every aspect. His resourcefulness was simply terrifying. No wonder he could beat the heavens. "Then your goal." Ling Yan wanted to say something, but stopped. Jun Xiaoyao smiled faintly and said, "You are very smart. You should have guessed it when you saw me. You want to enter the Forgotten Nation." Ling Yan sighed and said, That's right. That's why I created the illusion that I was seriously injured and was recuperating in the Jun family to confuse the world, Jun Xiaoyao said. Then you came to me because you thought that I would help you. Ling Yan's jade-like hands clenched slightly. That's right, Jun Xiaoyao said. He had to make a trip to the Forgotten Nation. Whether it was for the clue about the desolate emperor left behind by the endless emperor, or to sign in at the Forgotten Nation. He had to make a trip there, and the Xian Ting monopolized the Forgotten Nation. If he wanted to enter, he could only go through Ling Yan. What makes you think that I will help you? After all, the Jun family and the Xian Ting had some friction before during the Immortal War. I can even report you right now and say that you are here. Then wouldn't all your previous arrangements be in vain? Ling Yan looked straight at Jun Xiaoyao. Jun Xiaoyao had a faint smile on his face. Jun Xiaoyao's usual expression was very indifferent, but when she smiled, it was extremely beautiful. It gave people a comfortable feeling like a spring breeze. You're right. As long as you expose my identity now, all my previous arrangements will be meaningless. But Jun Xiaoyao walked closer to Ling Yan and looked at Ling Yan with eyes as deep as the night stars. Ling Yan could even smell the fresh and pleasant smell on Jun Xiaoyao's body. Her smooth and exquisite jade-like face couldn't help but blush slightly. If it were any other man who dared to offend her like this and get so close to her, she would have slapped him. In the entire Xian Ting, I only trust you. This sentence completely broke Ling Yan's defenses. She looked at the handsome man in front of her and couldn't help the impulse in her heart. She stepped forward and hugged Jun Xiaoyao. Jun Xiaoyao was slightly stunned, and then a faint smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. He hugged Ling Yan. If you want to get something, you have to pay first. Jun Xiaoyao understood this principle. As long as she didn't take his virginity, everything else was fine. Ling Yan hugged Jun Xiaoyao and murmured, I know you are using me. Jun Xiaoyao was silent. So, I really want to hate you and slap you in the face. I, Ling Yan's man, should only love me, but your heart is not with me. Jun Xiaoyao continued to be silent. As an experienced lover, he knew that the wisest thing to do at this time was to be silent, because anything he said would be wrong. But I can't hate you. I thought it was the fairy kites that was causing trouble. But before, when I heard the news that you were seriously injured, I was very anxious and inexplicably uncomfortable. Maybe you are my destined tribulation. Chapter 12:37. When a woman said that you were the calamity of her destiny, that proved that she had completely fallen and could no longer escape. Jun Xiaoyao was very clear about this. That was why he dared to reveal all his plans to Ling Yan. Even Ling Yan's feelings for him were within Jun Xiaoyao's calculations, although using her feelings was somewhat unpresentable. But other than that, Jun Xiaoyao could not find any other way to enter the Forgotten Country. If hating me can make you feel better, then hate me, Jun Xiaoyao said. Ling Yan bit her lip. She really could not hate the man in front of her even if she wanted to. Not because of Fairy Yuan's will, but because of herself. Ling Yuan let go of Jun Xiaoyao after exhaling a fragrant scent that smelled like orchids and musk. She said, I can promise to take you with me into the Forgotten Nation, but you have to promise that you will not do anything to endanger the Xian Ting. You can rest assured that I will not do anything to endanger the immortal lineage of Empress Hua, nor will I prevent you from obtaining the opportunity. I will even help you obtain it, Jun Xiaoyao said. He said that he would not endanger the immortal lineage of Empress Hua and would only help Ling Yan. Of course, if there are others who insist on targeting me, then exceptions are made, Ling Yan said. To be honest, she also knew that bringing Jun Xiaoyao into the Forgotten Country was definitely not beneficial to the Xian Ting. But she just could not refuse this man. She felt very uncomfortable rejecting Jun Xiaoyao. But as the young empress of the Xian Ting, helping Jun Xiaoyao also made her feel a sense of betrayal towards the Xian Ting. She was caught in the middle of responsibility and emotions, and felt a sense of suffocation. No matter how strong she was still a woman. He seemed to see the exhaustion in Ling Yan's eyes. Jun Xiaoyao's wrist flashed, and he took out something. This is a gift for you. Ling Yan's beautiful eyes fell on him. It was a dress with a very special cut, but it was quite gorgeous and had a silk texture. This is a chi pao. It's not very precious, but it's still a top-notch, utmost exalted artifact. Ling Yin reached out her jade-like hand to take it, her face slightly red. This Chong Sam was a little too tight, and it made Ling Long's tall and slender figure even more graceful. It was just that this Chong Sam had a high slit and was a little tight. It was almost close to the sexy style. "Why do you always give me these things?" Ling Yin regained her composure and felt a little embarrassed. She rolled her eyes at Jun Xiaoyao charmingly. Last time it was silk stockings. This time it was a Chong Sam. Why were they all such embarrassing things? "You're finally smiling," Jun Xiaoyao said with a faint smile. Ling Yin was stunned, and a warm current flowed through his heart. Perhaps it was Jun Xiaoyao's casual gentleness that made her fall for him. Jun Xiaoyao heaved a sigh of relief. It was finally done. What was a scumbag? When he was so scumbag that girls were willing to sacrifice for him. Then he was not a scumbag, but a Casanova. "You're not wearing it?" Jun Xiaoyao said. "A Chong Sam with silk stockings. How wonderful could it be? I'll have a chance in the future. I can only wear it for you to see." Ling Yan's voice was as soft as a mosquito's, and only she heard the second half of the sentence. She was absolutely unwilling to wear such a tight, cut Chong Sam in public. Although she looked noble and cold on the outside, she was actually very conservative on the inside. Jun Xiaoyao didn't care much and nodded. "Okay, I'll come again when the Forgotten Kingdom opens." If he stayed in Ling Yan's bedroom, it would inevitably arouse suspicion. Before he really entered the Forgotten Kingdom, his true identity could only be known by Ling Yan alone. Then, the two walked out of the bedroom. Jun Xiaoyao had already put on his black robe and hood. "Thank you very much, young Emperor Ling Yan." Jun Xiaoyao lowered his voice, nodded slightly at Ling Yan, and turned to leave. Ling Yan watched Jun Xiaoyao leave. On that exquisite jade face, there was actually a trace of a little girl's hidden bitterness. As for the young elites that were waiting to watch the show, they were all dumbfounded as they saw this scene. F***CK, am I seeing things? That black-robed man came out alive? And he seems to be completely fine. Most importantly, young Emperor Ling Yan actually sent him out? Is that still the cold and aloof young emperor? Who exactly is that black-robed man? All the young geniuses were stunned, especially those who had knelt on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights, and those who had given a lot of gifts. They were all envious and jealous, and their mentality collapsed. They had given so much, but Ling Yan didn't even look at them. However, this mysterious black-robed man was able to win Ling Yan's favor. "Hey, brother, you're awesome." A fat man greeted Jun Xiaoyao. It was the young master of the Lu family, Lu Fugue. Jun Xiaoyao nodded slightly and left. It was best for him to keep a low profile and not arouse the curiosity and speculation of others. If his identity was exposed, his plan would be in vain. He still needed to check in at the Forgotten Nation, and he also needed to figure out the clues about the desolate emperor left behind by Emperor No End. Looking at Jun Xiaoyao's back, Lu Fugue narrowed his eyes. Interesting guy, but is he trying to steal the son of God from the Jun family? Everyone knew that Ling Yan and Jun Xiaoyao had an unusual relationship. In the entire mystic realm, how many people dared to steal Jun Xiaoyao's people? Unless it's him, but that's impossible. After all, the son of God of the Jun family was severely injured and is still lying in the Jun family. Lu Fugue shook his head and dismissed this ridiculous idea. In the following days, there were still many geniuses who wanted to join the team of the 9 great immortal lineages of the Xianting. However, only a few people were qualified. Jun Xiaoyao was also silently waiting for the Forgotten Nation to open. On the other hand, in the Huangtian mystic realm, in the depths of the Jun family's ancestral temple, there was a blessed place with rich spirit qi. A blurry white-robed figure could be vaguely seen sitting cross-legged in the middle. Beside him, there was a towering ancient tree surrounded by endless chaotic qi. Every wisp of it was extremely heavy, as if it could crush the void. This was the chaotic ancient tree that the 5th forefather, Jun Taihao, had cut down. It contained the innate chaotic essence. It was very helpful for the cultivation of the chaotic body. The white-robed figure sitting cross-legged was naturally none other than Jun Xiaoyao. It was just his chaotic body. The three pure ones with one breath was a supreme secret technique. It was extremely heaven-defying, and the three clones had the same strength as the main body. However, it was extremely difficult to cultivate it. The reason why Jun Xiaoyao was able to cultivate a clone so quickly was because of that. In addition to his monstrous talent, there was another reason. He had many constitutions in his body, and it just so happened that he could separate one of them and use it for cultivation. This was a condition that Jun Wuhui did not have. The current Jun Xiaoyao was a chaotic body. The one who met Ling Yin was a holy body and a Tao fetus. In fact, they were both the main body in him. There was no difference at all. When the time was right in the future, Jun Xiaoyao might be able to use special constitutions, such as the Fateless ones, to cultivate a new clone. When the time came, there would be the chaotic body, the holy body, the Tao fetus, and the Fateless body. Among the 3,000 constitutions since ancient times, the three most powerful ones belonged to him. Would he be invincible? If he cultivated it to the extreme, he could even become one with the three bodies. He would be invincible, so strong that no one could compare to him. Of course, that was the goal of Jun Xiaoyao's cultivation. With this chaotic ancient tree, I'll be fine after a few months of recuperation. Jun Xiaoyao said indifferently. A quasi-emperor with an emperor weapon's self-detonation was indeed powerful. However, he had little Evers now by his side. Although the explosion was powerful, he was only slightly affected by it. It was far from a rumor that his Tao foundation was damaged. That was just a rumor that he deliberately let out. However, at least Xianting had compensated him with chaos crystals, divine fruits of life, and other treasures. It was a windfall. Jun Xiaoyao then turned his gaze to the side, looking at the little girl sleeping beside him. Ever since the assassination, little Evers now had been in a deep sleep. It was as if she had exhausted all her strength. However, Jun Xiaoyao knew that she was just a little tired. She should wake up after sleeping. There would be no major problems. Who exactly are you? Jun Xiaoyao reached out and pinched little Eversnow's cute face as he muttered to himself. Daddy. No one can bully Daddy. Little Eversnow's pink lips pouted as if she was talking in her sleep. Jun Xiaoyao smiled faintly. At that moment, a blood-red figure suddenly appeared in the void. Jun Xiaoyao raised his eyebrows when he saw who it was. The mother of the red spider lilies had given him another big gift. Chapter 1238. The newcomer had long blood-red hair and was dressed in old clothes. There was a faint demonic blood ring around him, although he didn't actively release that aura. That faint emperor's aura still made the place tremble slightly. This figure was the Lord of the Blood Pagoda, the king of assassins in the imperial realm, Gosheng. This was the ancestral land of the Jun family. Obviously, he was allowed to come here by Jun Xiaoyao's permission. After the immortal battle of the Jin dynasty against the three great assassins ended, the king of assassins also returned to the Huangtian mystic realm with the emperor's court team. Even the Jun family couldn't ignore this great emperor. Fortunately, he had been suppressed by the mother of the hurricane lily. There was a destructive mark in his body that monitored his every move. If he made the slightest move, he would die immediately. The seal of destruction left behind by a supreme martial monarch was not that easy to undo. Now, only Jun Xiaoyao could order the king of assassins. At this moment, the king of assassins finally regained some of his emperor's bearing. After all, he was almost driven crazy by the nine-headed lion. As a great emperor, he lost all his dignity. Now, seeing Jun Xiaoyao, the king of assassins' eyes showed a hint of surprise. 3 great emperors besieged you and then self-destructed. The outside world said that you were seriously injured. Now it seems that you have fooled everyone. The king of assassins' eyes were deep, and then he looked at little Evers now, who was sleeping beside Jun Xiaoyao. His pupils suddenly shrank as he sensed an aura that made him feel a little wary. No wonder. The king of assassins was deep in thought. Jun Xiaoyao looked at the king of assassins. Facing a great emperor, he was still calm and said, "I heard that my mount, the nine-headed lion, almost drove you crazy?" The king of assassins' cheeks twitched slightly. This was touching a sore spot. He felt that he was going to hear the name of the great emperor of shit again. Humph, if you just want to humiliate me, then forget it. I really didn't expect that a great emperor would fight for you. But if the rest of my life is just to humiliate you, then I would rather die together with you. The king of assassins had a strong desire to live, but he was not so lowly as to drag out an ignoble existence. Haha, you're thinking too much. Jun Xiaoyao smiled faintly. To be honest, I admire people like you, the king of assassins. It's better to live than to die. Only those who are alive can be called great emperors. Those who are dead, other than a handful of yellow soil and reputation, have nothing. Knowing when to yield and when to stand tall shows the true colors of a hero. Jun Xiaoyao's words made the king of assassins' expression a little unnatural. He thought that Jun Xiaoyao would humiliate and suppress him to teach him a lesson. Unexpectedly, Jun Xiaoyao had no such intention at all. Do you think that I will become your servant and follow you wholeheartedly just because you said a few words? The king of assassins said, "Right now, in your eyes, I'm probably just a junior with some talent and power. But trust me, it won't be long before I become the first person to attain the Tao in this world. In the near future, following me will be an honor for you, not a dark history." Jun Xiaoyao's words were steady and confident, which made the king of assassins look askance. If other people said such words, it was no different from bragging. But when Jun Xiaoyao said it, it always gave people a feeling that it was reasonable. I have a plan for the imperial court. I want to establish 6 divisions. One of them is called the Dark Division. It specializes in assassination. It's a dagger in the shadows. If you join, you'll be the leader of the Dark Division. Jun Xiaoyao's words made the king of assassins' expression change. He smiled coldly and said, "I don't want to be the leader of the Blood Pagoda. Now I want to be the leader of your Dark Division." Jun Xiaoyao shook his head and smiled. "I promise that the imperial court will be billions of times stronger than the Blood Pagoda. It can even replace the Xian Ting." Jun Xiaoyao's words stunned the king of assassins. The imperial court can replace the Xian Ting? The king of assassins thought it was funny, but he couldn't laugh. Because at this moment, Jun Xiaoyao's demeanor and power were really like the leader of the imperial court. It was as if he could make all living things submit to him. For some reason, the king of assassins couldn't say a word to refute. Jun Xiaoyao continued, "Heroes don't ask where they come from. King of assassins, make your choice. If you don't agree, I won't force you. You can leave directly, but the destruction mark in your body will always be kept to prevent you from taking revenge. If you agree, then you'll be a member of the imperial court. You can have all the dignity and treatment you deserve. No one will dare to treat you as a servant." Jun Xiaoyao's words were firm at this moment. He didn't need people who weren't sincere. So what if he was a great emperor? If he only relied on force, even if he joined the imperial court, there would be problems in the future. Not to mention, the king of assassins' temperament was somewhat cold and twisted. Hearing this, the king of assassins was silent at first. Then he actually looked up to the sky and laughed. "Huh, heroes don't ask where they come from. What a good saying. Go Shang, had my whole family killed. I escaped from the dung pit, but I was ridiculed, and suppressed by others. In the end, I killed all the way here. What background? It's all fake. Heroes don't ask where they come from. I like this sentence. Jun Xiaoyao, you're an interesting person. I'll play this game with you." For a long time, the king of assassins' heart was his background and tragic past. Therefore, whenever someone said Go Shang or the Dung Pit Great Emperor, he would be furious and lose his composure. Now, Jun Xiaoyao had completely undone the knot in his heart by telling him that he didn't care where a hero came from. So what if it was in the past? The future would decide everything. "It's a deal," Jun Xiaoyao said. "It's a deal." The king of assassins laughed. Who would have thought? In the future, the entire universe would tremble in fear. The Dark Department of the Emperor's Imperial Court which would be feared like a tiger, was established under such circumstances. And this dark department leader, the King of Assassins, would also become a high-level leader of the Emperor's imperial court in the future. He would be the living king of hell who would shake the universe. The King of Assassins was completely subdued. Looking at the King of Assassins' figure leaving, Jun Xiaoyao smiled with satisfaction. In terms of controlling people's hearts, Jun Xiaoyao could be said to be very insightful and insightful. Next, it's the Forgotten Country. What is the clue of the desolate emperor that the no-end emperor mentioned? About a few months passed. This day, in the Huntian immortal realm, the strange chaos demon star suddenly bloomed with a blood-red light. The vast blood-red light scattered in the depths of the universe and turned into a dazzling red color. It was as if a new world had been opened. A hazy and blurry world was suddenly reflected by the blood-red light. It was endless and incomparably ancient. It was as if it had finally been awakened after countless years of sleep. It's appeared. The entrance to the Forgotten Country is about to open. This is one of the 7 incredible immortal realms. I really want to know how incredible it is. Countless cultivators exclaimed, but many people could only watch from the outside of the Huntian immortal realm. All of a sudden, the sound of a bell rang out. That was the sound of the immortal bell of the Xianting. It meant that the 9 great immortal orthodoxies would gather together and the trial of the Forgotten Country would begin. Among them, there were the ruins of the ancient Xianting. The prodigies of the 9 great immortal orthodoxies and their followers would engage in an intense competition. Chapter 1239. The chimes spread across the Huntian immortal realm and the entire 9 heavens immortal realm. Many cultivators and experts who heard the chime immediately gathered at the Huntian immortal realm. Even if they could not enter the Forgotten Kingdom, they could still observe it from afar. After all, it was one of the 7 wonders of the immortal realm. Even though it was rumored to be a dangerous place, it was also a place full of fortunate encounters and treasures. Most importantly, it was sealed and safe. It would only show up once in a while. Otherwise, the ancient Xianting would not leave some of its ruins and treasures here. Strictly speaking, the trial was a competition between the 9 immortal factions of the Xianting. Even the cultivators recruited from the outside world were only there to support them. The geniuses of the 9 immortal factions were the ones competing for the fortunate encounters. The 9 immortal factions were known as the complete Xianting to the outside world. However, the internal conflicts between them had never stopped. It was the difference between an organization and a clan. Clans were restricted by their bloodline. They would not go to extremes unless there was a huge conflict between them. However, many factions were competing for the right to rule the Xianting. They all wanted to rule the Xianting. It brought about a conflict. The trial was obviously a competition to see who could obtain the most fortunate encounters from the ancient Xianting. Whoever could compete for the right to rule the Xianting. Among them, Empress Wa's immortal factions and Fushi's immortal factions had the best chance. One of them had the current young emperor, while the other had the ancient young emperor. However, it did not mean the other immortal factions had no chance at all. Many immortal factions had the potential to awaken their talents too. If they could obtain some of the resources and successions of the ancient Xianting, they would not lose out in the competition. Even Empress Wa and Fushi's immortal factions could not afford to lower their guard. Meanwhile, on the dojo of Empress Wa's immortal factions, a group of experts from Empress Wa's immortal factions, including Granny Lan, wore stern expressions. After all, the trial was related to the fortunate encounters of the ancient Xianting ruins. It might even decide the future of Empress Wa's immortal factions. They were obviously treating it seriously. Ling Yin was also at the head of the crowd. Her tall and slender, jade-like figure was wrapped in a glazed fairy dress, making her look like a pure white and resplendent immortal flower. Her appearance was peerless and beautiful. Just by standing there, she attracted everyone's attention. Beside her, there were some people who were going to the Forgotten Kingdom with her. These companions were not selected by Ling Yin. It was Empress Wa's immortal lineage who chose it for him. Some of the geniuses had used their connections or the factions behind them to hand over a lot of treasures to Empress Wa's immortal lineage. Shockingly, there was a familiar figure amongst them. It was a chubby and fair man in a golden robe. It was the young master of the Liu clan, Liu Fuge. He was picking his teeth with a quasi-emperor weapon toothpick. At the same time, from time to time, he would secretly look at Ling Yin with his small eyes and gulp. Of course, he could only watch. Ling Yin was like a Tian Shan snow lotus, which could be admired from afar, but could not be touched. In other words, one had to be qualified to play with her. At least, he did not have that qualification. At this time, another handsome young master in a luxurious green-gold robe looked at Ling Yin and smiled appropriately. Young Emperor Ling Yin, you have been a little uneasy since just now. Are you a little nervous? No, Ling Yin said coldly. The handsome young master did not mind Ling Yin's cold attitude and continued to smile. Don't worry, in the Forgotten Kingdom, I will definitely protect young Emperor Ling Yin with my life. That's not necessary. With your strength, whether you can defeat me is still a question, Ling Yin said indifferently. The handsome young master was slightly stunned, then shook his head and sighed. Sigh, young Master Qin, your bootlicking attitude is really laughable. Young Emperor Ling Yin can't be bothered with you. Lu Fugue said while picking his teeth. The handsome young master turned to look at Lu Fugue and said coldly, Are you jealous? But with your charm, oh, you have no charm at all. Why? Are you looking down on me? Lu Fugue provoked. Others might be afraid of you because you are the young master of the Liu clan, but I am not afraid, the handsome young master said indifferently. He indeed had the qualifications. Because he was a prodigy of the Qin clan that had awakened from a deep slumber, his status was extraordinary. Moreover, the Qin clan's reputation was no weaker than the Liu clan's. His ancestor, the founding emperor great emperor, had also ascended the myriad world monarch ranking and suppressed an era. Previously, on the ancient road of ultimate, Jun Xiaoyao had also clashed with the prodigies of the Qin clan. Later on the buried emperor's star, Jun Xiaoyao directly killed the prodigy of the Qin clan, Qin Wudao. The handsome young master in front of him was a prodigy of the Qin clan called Qin Yuanqing. His strength was incomparable to Qin Wudao's. His appearance and family background were impeccable. It was because of this that Qin Yuanqing was qualified to take the initiative to attack Ling Yin. If he could really gain Ling Yan's favor, he would definitely soar to the sky. Unfortunately, Ling Yin had always been cold to Qin Yuanqing. At this moment, a black-robed figure silently walked over from afar. Even though Ling Yin restrained her emotions, there was still a slight fluctuation on her exquisite face. It was like the ripples of a lake in spring. Qin Yuanqing immediately sensed the ripple. He frowned slightly and looked at the black-robed man walking over. The black-robed man was silent and didn't even greet Ling Yin. On the other hand, Ling Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. Qin Yuanqing said that he would protect her, but Ling Yin only found it laughable. Although Qin Yuanqing was a prodigy of the Qin clan, his strength was at most on par with her. How could he protect her? He was just lusting after her body. Jun Xiaoyao was the only one who was truly qualified to say that he would protect her. Seeing Jun Xiaoyao's arrival, Ling Yan's heart finally calmed down. Even if there were great dangers in the Forgotten Nation, she believed that Jun Xiaoyao wouldn't leave her alone. Hey, brother, we meet again. You're also qualified. Lu Fugue greeted the black-robed man as if they were close friends. The black-robed man was naturally Jun Xiaoyao. He also nodded slightly at Lu Fugue. Damn, in order to get this spot, I had to give an imperial weapon to Empress Wa's immortal lineage. I hope it's worth it. Lu Fugue said casually. There might be many immortal materials, treasures, and ancient artifacts in the Forgotten Nation. This was very attractive to the Liu clan, who specialized in forging. Jun Xiaoyao smiled and didn't say anything. However, as a forging family, the Liu clan of the ancients was indeed worth making friend with. It just so happened that the emperor's imperial court lacked blacksmiths, just as Jun Xiaoyao was about to start thinking again. A faint voice sounded. May I know who you are and where you come from? Why are you hiding? Could it be that you don't have a good image and don't want to be seen? The voice was cold, and it came from Qin Yuanqing. Jun Xiaoyao's eyes flashed. A long time ago, he had sent away Qin Wudao from the Qin clan on the buried Emperor's star. Was he going to send away another one now? Chapter 1240. Although Qin Yuanqing's words were not direct insults, however, the sarcasm in his words was obvious. In fact, it was normal for him to hide his identity. There were also people in black robes among the prodigies of other immortal lineages. The only thing that annoyed Qin Yuanqing was Ling Yan's special attitude toward the black-robed man. You're from a small family. Not worth mentioning. Jun Xiaoyao changed his voice slightly, making it a little deep and indifferent. He could not reveal his identity before entering the Forgotten Nation. Otherwise, all his efforts would be in vain. Hearing this, even Ling Yuan, who had a cold and indifferent expression, almost could not hold it in anymore. The Jun family was a small family. Many people's faces twitched when they heard this. However, Qin Yuanqing did not know that the black-robed man was Jun Xiaoyao. He also thought that even if the black-robed man had some background, it was nothing compared to the Qin family behind him. Since you're from a small family, you should know that you should act according to your ability. You'd better not be a burden to me and young King Ling Yan. If you encounter any danger, we won't help you. Qin Yuanqing's tone was cold, as if he was deliberately belittling Jun Xiaoyao in front of Ling Yan. Jun Xiaoyao did not care. He even looked at Qin Yuanqing as if he was a clown. He was not the kind of person who would be jealous of another man for a woman. Wouldn't that be a little stupid? Moreover, Jun Xiaoyao had never pursued a woman. He did not need to pursue a woman. Burden? I don't think so. Jun Xiaoyao chuckled, not minding it at all. That's good. After all, you don't even dare to reveal your true identity. Are you afraid that we will reject you? Qin Yuanqing said coldly. That's not true. At least, young King Ling Yan won't. Let's not talk about me holding her back. Even if I were to touch her back, so what? Jun Xiaoyao said casually. The group of companions present were all stupefied, their eyes and mouths wide open. How could this person have the guts to flirt with young Empress Ling Yuan like this? Lu Fugui was also stunned. As lecherous as he was, he only dared to take a few glances at Ling Yan. Yet this guy was actually flirting with her. Impudent! How dare you be so presumptuous and disrespect young Emperor Ling Yan? Qin Yuanqing reprimanded coldly. Enough! Ling Yuan reprimanded Qin Yuanqing and the others with a tender voice. But young Emperor Ling Yan, Qin Yuanqing, and the others looked at Ling Yan and were stunned. Ling Yan showed a hint of annoyance. However, her cheeks were slightly flushed. Was this still the cold and indifferent young Empress of Xianting? That's enough. Stop arguing. It's almost time to set off. Ling Yan adjusted his mood. However, she still secretly glanced at Jun Xiaoyao. Was he taking liberties with her in public? Jun Xiaoyao smiled calmly. He wasn't angered by Qin Yuanqing's provocation. He wasn't a great emperor yet, but his mentality was no different from one. In his eyes, Qin Yuanqing's jealousy was as childish and laughable as a child's play. Of course, if Qin Yuanqing provoked him again and again, it would be too much. Then Jun Xiaoyao wouldn't mind erasing him from the Forgotten Kingdom. The bell tolled, echoing throughout the Huntian immortal realm. Those from Empress Wa's immortal lineage set off. The Chaos Demon Star shone with a bewitching red light. The forgotten land that was illuminated became clearer and clearer. When Empress Wa's immortal lineage arrived, several immortal lineages were already present. Young Emperor, on the elite immortal guard system's side, a beautiful girl in a flowery silk dress with a fair face and bright eyes waved at Ling Yuan. It was Wei Qianqian of the elite guard lineage. Her entourage stood beside her. There were members of various races, some with their faces covered. Ling Yan smiled and nodded in acknowledgement. The elite guard lineage didn't have much ambition and had always followed Empress Wa's lead. Strictly speaking, they belonged to Empress Wa's faction. 5 other immortal lineages, including Sangja, Shinong, Gonggong, Zhurong, and Qiyu, had arrived early as well. Ling Yan's gaze turned serious as he looked around. Sangja's Sangju, Shinong's Yao Junzi, Gongongskaoya, Zhurong's Yin Shao. Looks like these immortal lineages are going all out for the ancient Xianting's treasure. Ling Yin murmured to himself. These prodigies were the absolute elites of the 9 immortal lineages. Qi Yu was the only exception. Ever since Qi Lai died at Jun Xiaoyao's hands, Qi Yu no longer had any worthy prodigies. What was even more surprising was that Qi Yu didn't even have a participant slot. They could only enter the Forgotten Kingdom by themselves. Therefore, the prodigies of Qi Yu immortal system, such as Qi Long and Qi Yu, had ugly looks on their faces. Jun Xiaoyao also glanced around. Among these immortal lineages, he had seen Cangjie, Shenong, and Qi Yu before. After all, the successors of these immortal lineages, such as Tsang Li, Yao Qing, and Qi Lai, had all died at his hands. These prodigies were all seed-level elites. As for the prodigies of Gonggong and Zhurong, it was Jun Xiaoyao's first time seeing them. Their auras weren't weak either. Jun Xiaoyao turned his attention to the immortal Cangjie system. Next to Cangjie's seed-level prodigy, Cangju, stood a sacred figure in a ceremonial robe, holding a golden scepter in his hand. It was Gulin's scion of truth. It seemed that he had also obtained a slot through some means. Huang Nidao, Little Stone King, and the other prodigies had all been brought up to the 9 skies. But the scion of truth wasn't brought up. Therefore, he could only use other means to obtain the opportunity. And the Forgotten Kingdom was the biggest opportunity recently, so he naturally couldn't miss it. As for the Jun family and any prodigies related to Jun Xiaoyao, they didn't come. The reason was simple. The Xianting wouldn't let them participate in this opportunity. Damn it, that woman is also here. Lu Fugue cursed when he saw a figure. Jun Xiaoyao also noticed that it was a woman standing with Cangju and Scion of Truth. Her status wasn't low either. She wore a purple robe, and her body was curvaceous in all the right places. She was hot and sexy. She was also born with a face as beautiful as a flower, bright and charming, soft and delicate. Her dark purple hair was tied into a bun with a purple jade hairpin. That's, Jun Xiaoyao said. Mo family, Mo Yinyu. Lu Fugue ground his teeth. Jun Xiaoyao understood. The Mo family and the Lu family were both blacksmiths, and they always competed with each other. Mo Yinyu also saw Lu Fugue. She raised her eyebrows, revealing a cold intent. Her red lips opened and closed as she mouthed the words silently. Lu Fugue read it. She meant to teach him a lesson in the Forgotten Kingdom. Damn it, going against me every day. I'll teach her a lesson sooner or later. Lu Fugue was furious. Jun Xiaoyao didn't comment. Right now, he was thinking about how to expand the monarch dynasty's manpower. At this moment, a vast battle intent suddenly surged. Jun Xiaoyao looked over. Xingtian's celestial system was here. Chapter 1241. Among the 9 great immortal orthodoxies, there was only one that could match up to Fuxi and Empress Hua in terms of reputation and foundation. It would be Xingtian immortal system. Xingtian immortal system controlled Xianting's punishment and had always been one of the top immortal orthodoxies. Many believed that the next ruler of this generation would be between Empress Hua and Fuxi. But no one could say for sure since the dust hadn't settled yet. Xingtian immortal system had the right to fight for it. Among the group of prodigies from the Heaven Punishment immortal lineage was a man in dazzling armor. He had an aura that seemed capable of swallowing the universe. His hair was loose, and his eyes were like lightning. He looked like a god of war, his aura shaking the universe. His arrival made the prodigies of the other immortal orthodoxies frown. It's him, Xingyun Shun, the battle saint physique of Xingtian immortal system. He's also a dormant seed. In the previous epoch, he fought for the position of Xianting's young emperor and almost succeeded, but failed in the end. That's why he went into hibernation. I didn't expect him to be plotting for this golden era. The prodigies of the other immortal orthodoxies spoke with solemn tones. Xingyun Shun had the battle saint physique, the legendary number 1 physique for combat. Some heaven-defying battle saint physiques could even defeat those stronger than themselves. Most importantly, Xingyun Shun was extremely ambitious. His greatest dream was to lead heaven punishment immortal lineage to become the ruling immortal lineage of the immortal court. His participation in the Forgotten Kingdom clearly meant that he was after the ancient Xian Ting's treasures. Xing Yunshun wasn't the only one who was surprised. Beside him was a dragon. There was also a noble and extraordinary man with dragon horns on his head. He wore a purple-gold imperial robe, showing his noble status. That's the monster of Dragon King Hall, the son of soaring dragon ancient emperor, Long Xuani. Even some of the lofty Xian Ting prodigies were shocked to see this noble figure. Long Xuani was the son of soaring dragon ancient emperor, the young ancestor of Dragon King Hall. In terms of status and bloodline strength, he was on the same level as Huang Nye Dao, the son of the immortal ancient emperor. One dragon and one phoenix. They were the most monstrous geniuses of the ancient royal family, the most elite descendants of the ancient emperors. However, Huang Nye Dao had been brought to the nine heavens, while Long Xuani was still in the immortal realm. Long Xuani's expression was indifferent in the face of the crowd. Long Xuani chose to work with Xing Yunshun. It seems like they are up to something big. Many of the sky prides from the immortal orthodoxies looked solemn. One was the slumbering battle saint physique of Xing Tian immortal system. One of them was the son of the soaring dragon ancient emperor, the little ancestor of the ancient imperial family who possessed a top-notch bloodline. If the two of them worked together, other than a small number of people, the others would not be able to resist. Jun Xiaoyao's gaze followed. Soaring dragon, ancient emperor's son? Jun Xiaoyao, on the other hand, did not seem to mind. Huang's Huang, in his eyes to him. As for Long Xuani, who was on the same level as Huang Nye Dao, he naturally didn't think much of him. However, Jun Xiaoyao raised his eyebrows. Behind Xing Yunshun and Long Xuani, there was a figure in a black cloak that covered his face. That was nothing out of the ordinary. There were quite a number of people present who hid their identities, and Jun Xiaoyao himself was one of them. However, his divine soul was very sensitive. He felt that the figure had a strange and cold aura. He should be no weaker than Xing Yunshun and Long Xuani. However, he was very low-key. He didn't even reveal his identity. Jun Xiaoyao made a mental note. At this moment, Xing Yunshun looked at Ling Yan. His eyes were filled with undisguised battle intent. Young Emperor Ling Yan, please guide me on this trip to the Forgotten Nation. Xing Yunshun's words were polite, but the provocation in his tone was self-evident. After all, the position of young emperor was Xing Yunshun's dream. In the past, he was just a little bit away from that position. This time, in the Forgotten Nation, he obtained the core of the ancient Xian Ting's legacy. He might be able to challenge Ling Yan and pull her down from the young emperor position. Xing Yunshun, it's a pity that this golden era is not prepared for you. Ling Yuan was also extraordinarily domineering, as she said coldly. She only showed her feminine side to Jun Xiaoyao. In the face of outsiders' provocation, she was still as cold and strong as ever. Who knows what will happen in the future? Xing Yunshun smiled. The sky prides of the immortal lineages could feel the tension between the two of them. It hadn't even started yet, but the immortal orthodoxies were already fighting each other. At this moment, a faint chuckle sounded. Everyone, we're all from the ancient Xian Ting. Why are you being so discordant? The voice was calm, as if it had great confidence in controlling everything. There was no doubt who it was. It was none other than Di Haoyan. Di Haoyan was wearing a simple and loose white robe. His long golden hair was sparkling and translucent, floating in the void. His pair of silver eyes were as deep and unpredictable as two silver moons. His skin was more delicate and flawless than most women's. It was as if he was an immortal jade. His aura was too otherworldly and extraordinary. It was as if a son of God had descended to the world. As soon as he arrived, the noisy scene immediately quieted down. It was as if he was really the lord of the ancient Xian Ting. Even the previously domineering Xing Yunshun's face turned serious when he saw Di Haoyan. He dared to go against Ling Yan, the young emperor, but he didn't dare to provoke Di Haoyan. This was Di Haoyan's power. Next to Di Haoyan was a man in a Taoist robe. It was Gu Tizi from the Fuxi immortal lineage. However, This genius, who had once stood shoulder to shoulder with Ling Yuan, was now following beside Di Hao Yin like a servant, without any glory at all. Gu Tizi had accepted his fate. He had been defeated repeatedly by Jun Xiaoyao. Later, he was even despised by everyone in the immortal region. If he wasn't the successor of the Fuxi immortal lineage, he would have been beaten to death. Now, he could only follow by Di Hao Yin's side to have a chance of rising to the top. Other than Gu Tizi, many prodigies from the 18 horsemen of Yanyun were also following Di Hao Yin. For example, Bai Luoxue, the red-haired ghost, and the purple flame heavenly lord were all there. Among them, there were two prodigies who attracted many people's attention. Their auras were on par with the top prodigies of the various immortal lineages. Are those two the eldest and second eldest of the 18 horsemen of Yanyun, Yu Hui and Yu Mo? Rumor has it that they're brothers. One has the glorious battle body, while the other has the Dark Knight King body. They complement each other and are invincible. Yeah, they once challenged Di Hao Yin, but lost in the end. But even Di Hao Yin said that if the two of them joined forces, he would be in trouble for a while. How are they going to fight? Di Hao Yin's followers alone are enough to suppress us, not to mention Gu Tizi. Many of the sky prides of immortal orthodoxies sighed inwardly. Now, there was no doubt that the strongest faction had been formed. The Fuxi immortal lineage, Di Hao Yin's faction. The Empress Hua immortal lineage, Ling Yan's faction. The Xingtian immortal lineage, Xingyun God's faction. The three factions had been formed. Chapter 1242. Of course, this did not mean that the prodigies of the other immortal lineages had no hope of competing. It was just that they would be at a disadvantage compared to the other three immortal lineages. It would be very difficult to turn the tables around unless they had heaven-defying luck and opportunity. Di Hao Yin stood with his hands behind his back, looking down on everyone. To him, this experience was nothing more than child's play. No one could stop him. He knew all about the opportunities in the Forgotten Nations. He also knew what he had to do. The only uncertainty was Jun Xiaoyao, who was still recuperating in the Jun family, and could not stop him. Therefore, Di Hao Yin was calm and confident this time. In his opinion, after this fortuitous encounter, there would be no need to worry. The unification of the Xian Ting was inevitable, and he would undoubtedly become the future ruler of the Xian Ting. Thinking of this, Di Hao Yin looked at Ling Yan again. After all, Gu Tizi and Ling Yan were indispensable chess pieces in his plan. That was why he brought Gu Tizi with him. Of course, Ling Yan was more important, because she had a special identity, which was related to an important figure in the ancient Xian Ting. This identity was only known to the core of Empress Hua's immortal lineage. The other 8 immortal lineages were completely kept in the dark. Di Hao Yin relied on his rebirth memories and advantages to find out early on and make plans. And that important figure was also the basis of Di Hao Yin's unification of the Xian Ting. As if sensing Di Hao Yin's gaze, Ling Yan's beautiful face was incomparably cold. Because of Di Hao Yin, she, as the current young empress, was in a somewhat awkward position. Therefore, she would not be nice to Di Hao Yin. Di Hao Yin's gaze swept casually. Suddenly, it stopped on a black-robed man beside Ling Yan. He frowned inwardly. Vaguely, there was an indescribable and inexplicable feeling in his heart. This is Di Hao Yin looked at the black-robed man. Under the hood, Jun Xiaoyao sneered. It had to be said that Di Hao Yin's intuition was not bad. It's none of your business, Ling Yan said coldly. Di Hao Yin smiled casually, not caring at all. Perhaps it was just an illusion. The only person who could threaten him was still lying in his family's ancestral land. On Ling Yan's side, the group of people who were traveling with Jun Xiaoyao looked at him with puzzled eyes. How could this mysterious black-robed man have the qualifications to attract Di Hao Yin's attention? Qin Yuanqing's eyes flashed with confusion. This person could make Ling Yan give special treatment and attract Di Hao Yin's attention. Indeed, one could not help but think deeply about his identity. Who cares what his identity is? At most, he's on par with me, Qin Yuanqing said to himself. At this moment, a mighty voice was heard. It was from a big shot of the Xianting. Everyone, the Forgotten Kingdom is about to open. As one of the 7 wonders of the immortal realm, the Forgotten Kingdom is mysterious and strange. No one can tell what's real and what's fake. Although there are many opportunities, there are also many risks. There is even the possibility of death at any time. So you have to think carefully. As long as you enter the Forgotten Kingdom, you'll have to bear the risk of death. Even we will not be able to save your lives from outside. So, it's not too late to choose to withdraw now. The words of the big shot of the Xianting made the faces of the 9 great immortal lineages turn serious. But no one wanted to withdraw. After all, how could one not take risks if one wanted to obtain an opportunity? Most importantly, the Forgotten Kingdom contained the treasures of the ancient Xianting. If they could obtain the inheritance of some ancient Xianting big shot, their status in the future will be different. In this golden era, there was no lack of opportunities and luck. Seeing the determined look on everyone's faces, the big shot of the Xianting did not say anything else. Buzz, the void rippled like water. The chaos demon star, which was emitting a demonic blood-red light, shone into the depths of the universe. The scenery there became more and more obvious. There were mountains and plains, ancient forests, collapsed ruins, and desolate deserts. That place was a forgotten land. No one knew how that land was formed or how mysterious and strange it was. Let's go. The big shot of the Xianting ordered. The 9 great immortal lineages geniuses and their recruited companions flew into the sky. They passed through the void as if they were passing through a water curtain. Let's go too, Ling Yin shouted. There was a hint of excitement in Qin Yuanqing's eyes. He must perform well in front of Ling Yin and win her heart. Little did he know, Ling Yin glanced at Jun Xiaoyao from the corner of her eye. Ling Yin could only feel at ease with him around. As for Jun Xiaoyao, the purpose of this trip was very simple: unlocking the clues of the desolate emperor and signing in. Of course, he also wanted to know what Di Haoyan was up to. As the group of geniuses entered the void, that part of the universe shook like waves. They had already entered the Forgotten Kingdom, but it was not that easy to get out. The upper echelons of the 9 great immortal lineages of the Xianting watched silently. This was a trial for the younger generation, because in this golden era, the younger generation represented the future. I have a feeling that after this trial, the future of the Xianting might really appear. Whether we can unify into a complete Xianting or continue to split will depend on this trial. Many important figures of the Xianting murmured silently in their hearts. This was an extremely vast plain, and one could not see the end of it at a glance. As far as the eye could see, the mountains, rivers, and seas did not seem to be any different from ordinary places. At a certain moment, countless sounds of wind breaking could be heard. A dense crowd of figures landed on the ground. Everyone was looking around and sizing up their surroundings. Is this the Forgotten Kingdom? It doesn't feel much different from the outside world. No, the concentration of spirit chi here is far denser than in the celestial realm. Could that be a sacred medicine? The sky full of stars is almost extinct in the outside world. It's a sacred medicine from ancient times. In the distance, could that be a 9-headed bird, an ancient mutant that's almost extinct? Many geniuses were surprised and puzzled. In the beginning, they thought that the Forgotten Kingdom was not much different from the outside world. However, after seeing many ancient treasures and even primeval variants, they realized that there were many ancient treasures. This was indeed an ancient forgotten land. Ling Yin, Jun Xiaoyao, and the others also landed here. Jun Xiaoyao was also looking around. To be honest, it did not look much different from the outside world. The only difference might be that there seemed to be many ancient mutants and ancient plants that had long been extinct here. It was as if he had returned to ancient times. But Jun Xiaoyao kept feeling that something was wrong, as if he was looking at flowers in the fog. He could also vaguely feel a majestic soul power filling the entire world. This made Jun Xiaoyao suddenly have a ridiculous guess in his heart. Could it be that the Forgotten Kingdom was alive? Chapter 1243. Even Jun Xiaoyao felt that this conjecture was a little ridiculous. However, his primordial spirit of 3 lives was far more sensitive to soul power than other primordial spirits. Jun Xiaoyao felt that the entire Forgotten Nation seemed to have some kind of will that was watching them. As expected of one of the immortal realm's 7 wonders, Jun Xiaoyao sighed secretly. Every single one of them was inconceivable, extremely strange, impossible to guess. The prodigies of the 9 great immortal orthodoxies and their companions all entered the Forgotten Nation. After the initial exploration, they all kept a certain distance from each other. However, there was no conflict or battle. After all, they had just entered and did not even know the situation. Moreover, the opportunity had yet to appear, so it was not time for them to fight. Di Haoyan was the first to move. He led his group directly in a certain direction. Jun Xiaoyao saw this scene, and his eyes darkened. Di Haoyan looked very confident, as if he knew the Forgotten Nation like the back of his hand. This made Jun Xiaoyao even more certain that Di Haoyan was a reincarnator. In other words, he had the ability to predict everything. However, Jun Xiaoyao also confirmed that Di Haoyan could not predict his movements. Otherwise, Di Haoyan would have known that he had already snuck in. Di Haoyan did not know, which meant that he did not have the experience of sneaking into the Forgotten Nation in his memory. In that case, it's much more convenient. It doesn't feel good to be spied on, Jun Xiaoyao thought to himself. All right, let's go. The entire Forgotten Nation is vast and can't be explored in a short time, Ling Yin said. The prodigies of the 9 great immortal orthodoxies all kept a distance from each other and slowly advanced. The place where they were was an extremely vast plain. After an unknown period of time, suddenly, some dense black dots appeared in front of them. The prodigies of the 9 great immortal orthodoxies all had a puzzled look in their eyes. At the same time, they became alert. When they got a little closer, they suddenly realized those black dots were all human figures. Those figures were wearing clothes from different eras. Some were from the recent ancient era, and some were from the ancient era. There were also some from even further back. Are these all the living beings that entered the Forgotten Nation before? A prodigy of the Xian Ting asked in surprise. Something's not right. I feel that something's wrong with them. Yin Shao, the leader of the Zhurong immortal orthodoxies, frowned. He had flame-like hair and brows and eyebrows. His eyes were like lava. These living beings were numb, as if they did not have their own thoughts. It was as if his soul had been taken away. This was too strange, causing many of the geniuses to feel a chill down their spines. They had only just entered the Forgotten Kingdom, yet they were already encountering such strange things. Suddenly, those figures of the 9 immortals of the 9 great Xian immortal orthodoxies, everyone's eyes suddenly turned to look at him. There was only numbness and dead silence in their eyes. Whoosh! Those figures suddenly charged towards the prodigies of the 9 great immortal orthodoxies. There are even some mystique venerables and godly venerables among them. This was not something that ordinary prodigies could withstand. Retreat! A prodigy shouted. The prodigies of the 9 great immortal orthodoxies and their companions hurriedly scattered. The place was instantly in chaos. Some prodigies were directly grabbed by those numb figures. Those figures opened their mouths and sucking out the primordial spirit of the prodigy. Soul, soul, where's my soul? After sucking out the prodigy's primordial spirit, the numb figure roared at the sky and continued to search for its next prey. Run! Ah! Don't kill me! Scram! The place exploded into chaos. After all, there were mystique venerables and godly venerables among those figures. It could be said that apart from the elites of the 9 great immortal orthodoxies, basically, no one could withstand more than a few blows from them. Di Haoyan looked nonchalant, as if he was not used to this. A mystique venerables of the walking corpse charged towards him. Di Haoyan did not move. Next to him were the eldest and second eldest of the 18 steeds of Yin Yun, Yu Hui of the Radiant Battle form, and Yu Mo of the Dark King form. The two of them joined forces and blocked the mystique venerable's attack. Let's retreat first. With a flick of his sleeve, Di Hao Yin led his group and flew in a certain direction. The other immortal orthodoxies did the same and began to disperse. Scram! Xing Yinshun of the Xingtian Immortal Orthodoxy unleashed his aura and combat strength, forcing the heavenly venerables of the walking corpse to retreat. He also retreated with his group of people. However, not everyone was so lucky. For example, Pharmacist Junzi of the Shenong Immortal Orthodoxy suffered heavy casualties. Only their leader, Pharmacist Junzi, and a few others barely managed to escape. Ling Yan's group was also retreating. Don't worry, Your Highness. I will ensure your safety. Qin Yuanqing raised his hand and forced a walking corpse to retreat. Ling Yan did not care at all. Jun Xiaoyao, on the other hand, was very calm and did not even make a move. The others were willing to be laborers, but he was happy to be idle. He really is idle. Qin Yuanqing harumphed when he saw that Jun Xiaoyao did not make a move. Ling Yan's group finally broke through the encirclement and left the plane. Phew, that scared me to death. Lu Fugue wiped the sweat off his face. As the heir of a family of blacksmiths, his combat strength was definitely not high. Of course, the only good thing was that he had many protective artifacts that could ensure his safety. We're finally out. Why did those who entered the Forgotten Nation become like that? Ling Yan breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone present was a little puzzled. However, the Forgotten Nation was mysterious and strange to begin with. It was normal that they did not understand. All right, the journey ahead will only be more dangerous. Everyone, be careful. Ling Yan was the leader of this group. She glanced at Jun Xiaoyao from the corner of her eye. In terms of qualifications and strength, Jun Xiaoyao was worthy of being the leader. However, he was very low-key and was not interested, although they had entered the Forgotten Nation. Jun Xiaoyao did not need to expose his identity immediately. If he did, it might arouse others' vigilance. Next, Ling Yan, Jun Xiaoyao, and the others began to go deeper into the Forgotten Nation. In the sky ahead, there was a flash of golden light. It was a divine bird whose entire body was shining with golden light, and it carried with it an auspicious aura. That's the Chongming divine bird. It's almost extinct in the outside world. Lu Fugue's eyes lit up. The divine feathers of the Chongming divine bird were treasures used to forge protective artifacts. However, this kind of bird was almost extinct in the outside world. It was impossible to find their divine feathers. Don't cause trouble. That Chongming divine bird is not something that ordinary people can handle. At least, you can't handle it, Qin Yuanqing said coldly. Hey you, Lu Fugue glared at him. The two of them did not get along. Along the way, they also saw ancient species such as the scarlet-eyed jade tiger, the nine-winged rain dragon, and the weeping soul beast. They tried their best to avoid them. Of course, they also collected many ancient and rare sacred herbs along the way. Jun Xiaoyao did not do anything. He did not care about these opportunities. After walking for a long time, there seemed to be a dim light flowing in front of them. What's that?